Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Minnesota City Circuit. We got ourselves a couple more rounds to go to determine our champion for the Minnesota RØKKR edition of what is the Call of Duty League City Circuit. And my whole shift with me is Esports Doug. And it's just so great, man. We got to do this, the 3v3. We got to kind of embellish all of our wonderful facial here. And I think we've kind of taken it a step forward since the last time we got to compare mustaches and beards.
Yeah, naturally, things have grown a little bit more. I'm not any closer to that majestic beard that you have, but at this point, I'll take a dub with the stash.
I love it, dude. And I think that I'm finally at the point where I can actually curl with you. So we might have to actually do that this time around for finals. We might have to get the curls going. But just to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what's going on here, of course, this is the Call of Duty City Circuit. And these have been taking place all the way throughout the year. And with everything moving online, everything obviously has changed just a touch as far as the schedule. But the pricing has stayed the same. Pricing for the City Circuit Finals will remain the $100,000 prize pool as planned. That before the distribution is outlined essentially as follows. First place overall will be $40,000, second for 20, third and fourth $10K, fifth to eighth $5,000. A lot to play for. So becoming a champion here is not just boasting rights for now, but you've got a potential to get to that City Circuit Finals and earn yourself a pretty hefty amount of cash.
Yeah, there have been a lot of teams that have started on this adventure to try to get to where they're trying to be, right? Like this bracket has been going on since yesterday. We've whittled it down to the last handful of teams, which we're going to be able to bring you guys on the broadcast, but this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this will be a little bit more of an elongated series. I believe it's best of fives all the way through here. So that's definitely something to
Mhm.
keep in mind as we go in. Beyond that point, though, we also just need to make sure that we're realizing this is 2v2. It is gunfight with the normal rules. There are a couple of more elaborate maps than what we normally would have as far as stuff
Mhm.
with Checkmate Gaming, as this is presented by CMG. So the rule set is slightly different as far as not just the format, but also what maps we're going to be playing. Last we did this, Doug, we talked a lot about how we're not big fans of Pine, we're not big fans of Hill, things like that, but we are big fans of maps like docks and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys kind of fare on these maps coming up.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look at it now, and guys, it's a good lineup. We don't have any Pine, we don't have any Hill up on this first match, which always feels good. But to give you guys a map breakdown of this first series, it's gonna be Stack game one, Bazaar game two, Speedball, Shipment, and then Cargo if needed. So we have a good lineup. This is gonna be a good one, and it's gonna be leader Legitful up against Zerdog. It's gonna be a good series, and I am pumped to get into the action.
And we're going to recognize some of these players pretty immediately here. Triflex and Zuri, they have done very well in these gunfight tournaments all the way throughout, not just CMG, but also in the city circuits. As our first weapon will be the AR class, as it will be AKs. Monocle sights, looks to be a handful of attachments underneath the weapon itself, as I believe there's a grenade launcher on the bottom, just in case you want to have fun with that. And of course, everyone's C4 loadout coming through as well here, as Legitful has already taken a hefty amount of damage, down to 17 HP. Leader's going to have to watch over the top of him, but the entire play for Triflex and Zuri is just to play this as a duo and wait for the flag to open up.
Yeah, and you see, Zuri has already taken a good bit of damage, and that's going to be first blood in favor of Leader. So early on, they had the advantage. Zuri taking all of that really kind of forced Triflex to back off a little bit. Now Leader goes down, Legitful's down to scraps, really, when it comes to health bar. You're going to see him go ahead and push onto the flag. Triflex not pushing up quite yet. He's going to get spotted. From back in the spawn, land the kill. Triflex and Zuri are going to get the first win.
Yeah, these guys really took charge the last we had a chance. I believe these guys actually went really far when we got a chance to watch them during the Dallas Empire City Circuit. I think they actually made the grand finals potentially as, what happened right here? It looks like someone has accidentally got onto the wrong side. So
Mm.
we will end the game and
Mm.
restart it up. And I imagine that we'll still be sticking with what is just that 1-0 total as far as
Mhm.
rounds are concerned. So
Mhm.
make sure we keep that in mind and make sure that our math stays crisp as we're going to be going through essentially a fresh reset of our guns. Again, we'll be starting off with a fresh round one, but we still need to make sure that that will be a 1-0 total as far as I understand.
Yeah, I had this conversation on camera with Midnight this past weekend. If you guys were watching the watch party of Minnesota RØKKR, and we came to the conclusion, and this really should be an understood. You don't do math on camera. You don't, because you screw it up every single time. And
Every single time.
Ashley and I went through that, and there were some hard lessons that were learned, and I don't think we'll be learning those in real time ever again. But with this in mind, knowing that we are going to have a 1 round difference, reality versus what you guys are going to see on screen, just keep us honest. Okay, this should be pretty simple. We should be able to get this one right, but you never know.
You never know. And I think the most confusing thing about these restarts in Gunfight is that you're thinking of things in segments of 2 already. And so the fact that a round is going to come to a conclusion and it's going to, I don't know, it's going to be weird. But we'll try to keep each other honest for sure. But they're challenging us here, Doug, right off the rip, trying to do even just a little bit of math. It's just unbelievable.
Keeping us
So
on our
1
toes.
1-0 will be the count. We'll see how things reset. It is important to note as well when it comes down to these gunfights. You know, if you've not paid attention to the format of Gunfight in the last couple of weeks or months now, no more sniper rifles are brought in and no more LMGs are brought in. It's all marksman rifles, SMGs, pistols, shotties, and what am I missing? Assault rifles is the last one, obviously. So
Can't forget the fisticuffs.
I'm telling you, my dude, if we see good crossbow fisticuffs action with a throwing knife, I will be a happy man. I'm rooting for those rounds. I really am.
Well, folks, we are being told that it looks like we're switching hosts, so there may have been an issue with whoever was hosting the last lobby, but we'll be getting back into that as soon as we can. Shift, I want to get your thoughts on the map. We saw Stack. We saw very interesting play early on. Neither team really willing to be super aggressive, relatively passive action there. Is that what you're expecting to see moving forward on this map?
I think especially when you get an opening bit of damage like they did with the C4, bringing a player down to 17 HP, yeah, you're going to probably play a little bit more passive, especially considering that it is ARs, and you're just going to try to wait for that flag. You're in a good spot where the AK can absolutely destroy through that metal container in the middle of the map, so there's no need to over-challenge. And that it was kind of a playstyle moniker that we started to see a lot with Triflex and Zuri before, was that once they get a health pool advantage, they're going to play for the objective before they play for the kills, just kind of making sure that they're putting themselves in the best position possible to win each round. That was one of the biggest reasons why they were able to take away pivotal pistol and shotgun rounds that can be a little bit dicey and hairy. Once you're able to get a little bit of confirmed damage by way of a lethal equipment, or if it's just based on a couple of opening shots, play a little bit passive, force them to come to you, or just play off the flag itself. So I would not be surprised to see more of that, especially from Zuri and Triflex as we go forward. Of course, it's hard to kind of bring true analysis to Gunfight. It really just comes down to the familiarity you have with your teammate and what you feel like you can take away from your opponent. So we'll load right back in here. Again, 1-0, the current tally in favor of Triflex and Zuri. We'll try to keep you on board with that. It looks like our opening rounds will swap. It's going to be pistols, and it's going to be Renetti's here for starting off for round number 1 and 2.
Yeah, and one thing I want to very quickly touch on is when we were talking about passive play, we don't necessarily mean sit back in your spawn once you have the health advantage. I think the important thing to note is you have to have map control, because if you establish yourself at that 50-yard line, there you don't have to press forward. From there, you can play passively. So with that said, just kind of wanting to clear that up a little bit. Leader and Legitful already down to almost nothing. Legitful is going to be the first one to go down. But Zuri and Triflex have taken a substantial amount of damage as well.
Well, the subtext from Leader does make things an even 1v1 with a slight health pool advantage in favor of Leader. So we'll see how they decide to play this one. Again, pistols are great, but once you start to play for that flag, you got to be true with your shot, and he's going to go up forward, and all the shots from the side will not connect for Triflex. Around the corner, one will connect. 19 HP left, but the gunfight won by Leader as he gets a slight angle, and now again tied up 1-1 technically after the restart.
Triflex had the jump on him too. When he was on the stairs, he had flanked around the corner. Leader wasn't looking that way. That should have been an easy kill. You know, tough to say what it was, if it was COD timing or, you know, what have you. It's just unfortunate circumstance there. But yeah, that's going to result in that Leader there. Leader coming in at 2-0 right now, having a very good game early on.
Opening exchange of equipment coming through, and legit fully does get the stick. Zuri now in a 1v2, but does have 100 HP to play with. For Leader and Legitful, can you find a way to just work this as a tandem duo and do whatever you can to make sure that Zuri doesn't get a chance to clutch this one up? The answer is absolutely yes. Leader, Legitful, they take the pistols and will technically go up 2-1.
And Legitful didn't even really need Leader there. He was just able to land the shots by himself. There was no team shooting that took place. It was just nice and easy shots from across the map, and that landed them to kill. Again, a 2-1 score right now. Focus, if you are just tuning in, I know the scoreboard says 2-0, but there was a disconnect, so it is 2-1. Let's see how Legitful decides to play this. Again, relatively passive play. Take a look at the minimap. Nobody's pushing forward. And as I say that, Triflex and Zuri back up even more. They haven't left their spawn.
They do have the health pool advantage here. So you're trying to play for just a little bit of information. Smokes are the tactical here, so there could be potential to do exactly that. Just smoke out with the flag areas and cause some mayhem. Try to force Leader and Legitful to push through it, and Leader has gotten there. He's going to see information on one player, tries to hold down the trigger, but isn't able to get the connections he needed. So 2-2 technically we go, as this will be the first time since our restart that we've seen Triflex and Zero really take control of a round. And wouldn't you know it, it comes in the SMGs.
Yeah, Triflex ran through his crosshair there. It really had no business surviving that, but nonetheless, that was the outcome. A 3-2 performance, excuse me, out of him so far. And this one, once again, mirroring the same loadout from last time. A good chunk of damage. Leader down to 17. Legitful takes it right in the chin as well. Zuri gets first blood as Leader dies.
And from the top rope, no chance there to kind of meet up with this. And the SMGs go the way of Triflex and Zuri. And a little bit of bullet penetration, it looked like, through the corners of that pillar to help out with the damage. Not that he would have needed much more. So now we switch over to marksman rifles, and we're going to get the EBR. Doug, if you don't remember,
Oh boy,
this is my least favorite weapon, without question. And Leader's already been dropped early with an opening headshot. Legitful down to just 39 HP. He did find a couple of tags on Zuri, but this one's looking like it should be all but over. I don't know if there's actually a secondary weapon. It looks like it might just be fists. So you're going to be forced to get the kills here for Zuri and Triflex with the EBR, which could potentially open up an opportunity if Legitful can find information with a nade to potentially just double headshot. That would be the goal. Good damage. One shot really to either player would do. Misses the opening, and actually, just kidding, there is a secondary. It's an R9, and that's what is used to get the final kill.
yeah, he had a chance there, right? He certainly had a chance. The nade was there to set up. Maybe if he cooked it a bit longer, it could have survived, or could have, excuse me, resulted in a kill. But just comes up a little bit short there. We'll see whether or not the EBR has different results here on this next round. Neither player has been tagged up. Neither player has been spotted. Of course, as I say, that little bit of damage traded out across the board. Triflex is able to get first blood. Legitful in a 1v2, a bad situation here.
Yeah, Leader and Legitful getting maybe a little bit too cute with the nades. You saw them all using everything off the rip, looking for some bit of information and damage, but all that connected were the stuns. So everyone in the lobby down to 98 total HP. Legitful has the worst COD timing ever as he turns around right as soon as the corner he was holding gets peaked. So for Triflex and Zuri, again, it says 4-2, but credit them the extra round before the restart came in, and we are now all of a sudden on map point.
We'll see what kind of weapons we have. Looks like pistols and shotguns, I believe. So this is going to be a good one. Legitful and Leader, again, trying to do what they can to keep this map alive, keep this thing going here. And of course, they're going to get pushed right back into their spawn. Leader already down to 36 health and make that 12 as they can smell blood in the water. They're hunting for him. Legitful is able to trade it back, though. Excuse me. Leader was the one who got the kill. And Zuri's able to clean him up. 1v1.
One bullet's all that's needed for Zuri. 2 shots should get the trick done, though, for Legitful. Remember, he does have that rogue as what is, again, the primary in this loadout in that shotgun, but you just don't imagine that either player is going to be trusting the shotguns here when you've got Renetti's as your pistols. Flag will open up. Zuri's going to play for the information and gets the snap over. He was tagged initially, I want to say twice.
Oh, boy.
Maybe just the once, and immediately gets the snap on to secure things out 6-2.
Oh boy, that doesn't feel good. Not that I have ever been on the receiving end of something like that, of course.
but
if I had been, ever, it would feel real bad. Yeah, no, really unfortunate. Legitful with the 2 and 6 performance, Leader with the 3 and 5. So not leaving a bit to be desired here. We'll get back into the game here as soon as we possibly can. But yeah, listen, Shift, initial thoughts on what you saw.
This is exactly, I think, what we've come to know if you've been watching along with both Zuri and Triflex. When you've got SMGs and ARs, they're going to play a little bit more passively. They're definitely going to be, again, one of the teams to watch for when it comes to their efficiency by using all of their equipment. They find so much opening information and damage off of their tacticals and lethals that I would say that is probably the biggest concern for teams going up against them. You saw Leader and Legitful try to mimic that as much as they possibly could, but as soon as they were kind of figured out by the equipment of Triflex and Zuri, it was all aggression from there on out to isolate and get a kill. They stay together, they play as a duo, and they try to find isolated kills whenever possible, and that was more often the case than not when it came to what we just saw there on Stack. Now, coming up next, though, is going to be Bazaar, which is a little bit more closed off. You've got a pretty open middle of the map. I like to say it's the exact inverse of King, where you don't necessarily have high ground in the middle. It's all on the outsides, and that's usually where a lot of the action takes place.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because while, like you said, they're not as many, it's not as open as stack. Even there's still a lot to be said about the long sight lines that happen on
Sure,
both
sure.
sides of the map. So depending on what kind of weapons we get, if we get especially when we get to the AR rounds, I think that's going to make a huge difference. It'll come down to who has the cleaner shot, who's able to get the first bead on those long lines. This is actually a personal favorite map of mine. I think it's a lot of fun, and I've had the pleasure of casting it a couple of times, and it's normally a banger every
Yeah.
single time.
And there's again, you mentioned it. There are those longer lines of sight to where it really can be just down to who finds the intel first. So we'll see how things pan out. As it looks like we've got P90s off the start. Yep, sure is. And it looks like, again, for Triflex Zuri, they're going to run this together. Get up to the left side, prospectively for them. Toss out their information. And it looks like Leader will be figured out that he's playing somewhere nearby. So we'll see exactly how they want to try to handle this, as Triflex will be watching over the bridge. And Zuri's actually going to push a little bit further forward down the middle of the map, and he'll be rewarded with first blood. Shots from Leader are decent, but there comes the swarm. And Triflex and Zuri able to take the first round quickly.
Yeah, I love what we saw to Triflex and Zuri there. Knowing when you have that numbers advantage, especially on a smaller map like this, where you feel like you can get from one end to the other in no seconds flat. Once you get that first kill, swarm. You gotta go, and you gotta go fast, and that's exactly what we saw there. They were able to get first blood, and then the flank around the corner essentially put that thing to bed. So really love what I saw out of them. We'll see if they're able to keep that up. This is actually going to be a great opportunity, as Legitful is already dead.
Yeah, Legitful got down to 24 HP off the start of his spawn. Just a little bit of spam coming through, as Zuri was the sender of that damage. And, well, just before the peak come out, once again, Triflex and Zuri get a favorable angle and find a very quick round. Again, it's one of those things that when we saw these guys play last time, in these rounds, even though we are technically in, what is this, the quarterfinals technically, they do not hesitate to run at people. And especially in SMG AR rounds, they are hard to counter, as Leader and Zuri get into an elongated gunfight with pistols at dawn. But it's Leader who comes out on top. Triflex now in an awful spot, as he's been stunned up and is just down to 8 HP. He needs one bullet for Leader, but Legitful is full HP, and it looks like this duo of Leader, Legitful, they'll play this together to make sure they secure this round, of which they should, and they do.
Yeah, that was a tough situation there. That was also the first time we've seen Leader and Legitful get a kill on this map. Going 3 rounds in before you get one certainly doesn't feel good, but with that said, they are able to take that round. So I really like how they played that there. Again, they knew they had the numbers advantage, and they were just able to kind of sit back and wait a little bit. And it paid off for him. We'll see what Triflex is able to do off top middle. Yeah, those are clean shots that are certainly going to do the trick. And before I even get my sentence done, Triflex and Zuri are able to put another one away of 3-1 right now.
Yeah, look at this play from Triflex. He just gets up and over, and for Leader, he just could not find the aim assist in time to lock on. So again, another quick start, and this is what I was worried about, is that we're going to get ARs next. It's going to be what looks to be M13s here for us. And expect to see aggression from Triflex and Zuri, although they try to get a little bit aggressive with their opening spam. It's Leader who walks away with first blood, leaving Triflex for a 1v2, although Leader has been tagged down to half HP.
Yeah, and if there was a guy who I'd want in this situation, it would actually probably be Triflex. So I'm pumped to see how he decides to play. This has to be pretty slow here. Doesn't have a ton of information. Yeah, he's able to get one that's going to leave him in a 1v1. Going to try to retreat here a little bit and reset, but boy, he doesn't know he's looking the wrong way.
Well, he gets out. It's the good news. So now all of a sudden, Legitful, who thought he would have had the jump on Triflex, is going to be forced to reconsider all options. And Triflex is already up top. He could play for this flag. And oh my goodness, if he holds this angle, he reads it 100% correctly. Takes the spam. Does he see the shots down? Go to the drop shot, excuse me, but can't find the kill. And so it gets narrow, it gets tight, but Legitful's able to clutch up just the nick of time.
Whew. I think that knowing that you're down already in the series, the first couple of rounds haven't gone the way they have, losing that round could be devastating for Leader and Legitful, but they were able to pull it off. It looks like we got a DC again. Folks, keep an eye on the score. It is 3-2. So once we load back into this, we will pick it up from there. Leader and Legitful down 1 round here in the opening match of this broadcast. Again, I'm Esports Doug alongside I Hold Shift, and Shift, this has been a good one so far, and it's been a whole lot of Triflex and a whole lot of Zuri.
Has been a lot of both of those guys, as you would anticipate. But we'll see exactly what's going on. I just, man, I'm telling you, they're giving us a workout here early, Doug. We had the initial just, okay, all they got to do is remember 1 round. Now we've got to remember 5. These guys are really testing our abilities here. I was not ready for this. I didn't sign up for math, okay? Just saying
Mm.
that much.
I have a
But
whiteboard next close by that I might have to use for this
I've
reason.
got one as well. Maybe we use that as a little bit of visual representation. We could be like the score girls at a boxing match. We just walk by and every single time we just show the score going through. But we'll see what happens. I believe there's a little bit of an issue with host, as again you saw Triflex and Zuri leave very quickly. It looks like we are going to be switching host again, as we're hearing from our production studio here. We'll call it a studio. But it's one of those things that it's as you're looking at this from Leader and Legitful's point of view. The good news was you were able to take that M13 round, because that's where I feel like Triflex and Zuri have a huge advantage when it comes down to any opponents they play up against, is the way they play SMG and AR rounds. So this one has obviously been a little bit more well constructed for Leader and Legitful, considering that they did drop 6-2 what was stacked before this.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say that round was a must-win round for Leader
Agree
and
with that.
Legit there. That M13 round again, knowing how the first map went, knowing that they had the numbers advantage there. If they somehow managed to lose that, I think that can be insanely demoralizing and devastating for that squad. So responding when the lights are at their brightest and when they're back up against the ropes is important, and we saw that out of Leader and Legitful. Now, that was just to get their way out of the corner, right, of the boxing ring. They've just now made it to the back, or back to the center, excuse me, and the work is far from done.
I guess the other bit of maybe good news here is the fact that, again, we're resetting what we're going to be seeing for guns. So what was our opening P90s, and then we were about to have our second round of AR of the M13, that all gets washed. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Being down 4-1 is obviously a much different situation than being down 3-2, especially considering that we're going to be resetting the entire lobby. So our weapons will be reset once again, and we're going to be getting silenced 1911s by the looks of it here for our opening rounds.
This will be it's tough to say what that secondary is going to be there. Okay.
Oh, okay. Bisons. There we go.
Yeah, that obviously that I in my opinion, when you're talking about these two teams, that has a drastic impact on what the likely outcome will be. We'll see Legitful start to push up across the middle, and his teammate Leader on the other side of the map mirroring his every move, while it's more of a passive start out of Triflex and Zuri here.
And remember, it is 3-2 in favor of Triflex and Zuri, as Zuri's able to get a little bit of information onto Legitful. Nade going out to the backside. Nice push through, but the trade is there. So we'll be left with a 1v1. Triflex with the 40 HP advantage. And he's got technically the high ground at the moment where he can watch over this flag relatively safely. The two angles that he has to check is across the bridge and then nearby on the other side of this pillar, which is where he's going to be challenged from. And he's able to get the information before Legitful could do anything. So now it'll be 4-2 in favor of Triflex and Zuri.
Yeah. No, that was a super good win. Whether or not that continues to play out is to be seen, but that's exactly what we expect, right, at Zuri and Triflex. So, again, a pretty slow start here out of Leader and Legitful. Triflex is already up 2-0. As I say that, Zuri is able to get first blood, however.
Yeah, that combination is absolutely filthy, as there was a lot of opening damage for Leader and Legitful. They get the intel that, hey, they're pushing us in the middle of the map. You stun, I'll push, and that's about what you would figure. Triflex and Zuri now again on map point here, as they find themselves up 5-2. And that was another round that, like you mentioned previously, a must-win before we reset the lobby. That one for me was another must-win for Legit and Leader here.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And folks, this is a best of 5, so taking the advantage here, if your Triflex and Zuri is huge, having up or being up 2 maps.
Oh no!
In this series can make all the difference. Yikes. Well,
I thought
Leader and
for a second we were going to see a shot punch.
Yeah. Well, that either way, Leader and Legitful. To say that they needed that would be an understatement.
So one more round here of FAMAS. And a must-win, obviously, from here on out for Leader and Legitful until they reach the 4 mark on the score, as they, again, had 2 rounds previous to our lobby restart. Good information for Zuri. Semtex out, able to flush players towards them, gets 1 tag. And that'll be enough for him to back away. Again, you take a look at the health pools. Full HP for Zuri and Triflex. Leader and Legitful down to about 1 burst for each of them. Legitful does find a pick, though, making things a little bit more doable. Triflex has the information onto one close by, and he takes the shell. Shots initially weren't good, but the follow-up is better. And now he's got an opportunity for what is essentially an even 1v1. Near the flag is Legitful. He's going to have to go on it, though, and he's trying to slither his way forward just a touch. And there he is. He's able to at least trigger that overtime a touch longer. Has to stick on top, and he gets tagged up once and twice through the walls. Triflex Zuri able to close things out here in map number 2.
Yeah, and even being down as much as they were, to see a leader in Legitful play that the way they did was really impressive. They continued to play aggressively, right? You saw at one point Legitful was in Triflex and Zuri's spawn, knowing that they were on match point and that they're at risk of going down 2-0 in the series. To continue to play that way is really impressive. I love that we're seeing a lot of fight out of them still. Mind you, the fight hasn't paid off quite yet, but there's hope.
There is hope. There is hope at the end of that tunnel, but the tunnel is looking long. It's looking dark. It's looking mischievous. As again, it is a best of 5 like you mentioned, but it's going to have to be a clean reverse sweep here for the side of Leader and Legitful. And coming up next, it's Speedball. This is a map that I would say is the last place you want to play Triflex and Zuri. Nades are going to be very easy to connect with, but beyond that, this is probably our most open hardpoint map, our most open gunfight map that we have. So the fact that they're able to essentially duo up and get team shots in from any angle on the map is going to be, I think, the most scary thing about this combo for Triflex and Zuri.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a couple of different looks out of this squad. We've seen the passive playback and shoot together. We've seen the get all up in your face, get in your business play as well. And I think this map, unfortunately, if you're fans of Leader and Legitful, can prove to lend themselves to both of those play styles. The fact that you can kind of weave your way towards the middle of the map with a decent amount of cover makes it to where they can get all up close and personal. Or if they want to play back, they can do that as well. So the map certainly seeming like it's in favor of Triflex and Zuri, at least at this point.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. It sounds like we are about to drop right into this map, though, for map number 3. Triflex and Zuri, we've talked about them a lot. They've got a lot of winnings on CMG. They've done very well in the other city circuit events that have happened so far this year. Definitely a major favorite to potentially get to the grand finals, if not win the entire thing. So keep your eye on that. And for Leader and Legitful, the reverse sweep obviously has to start right now. It's going to be a tough ask, but it really for me just comes down to, again, what weapons are you going to get? Because for me personally, Doug, if we ever get a chance to play Gunfight with me, you'll know very quickly that, you'll see, this is a loadout that I can frag with, Doug. Let's go, baby. And then there are others, it's like, I'm just going to sit and spawn. Good luck.
That's exactly how I feel with pistol rounds. So maybe it's best that you and I don't play
okay, fair enough.
Gunfight together. So we don't. I'd like to think that we'll complement each other, but chances are we'll find ourselves on rounds where we both just hate everything that's happening, such as Leader and Legitful so far in this series. Again, down 0-2 up against Triflex and Zuri, but that's certainly going to help their cases as Leader gets first blood. It is traded back almost instantly, however.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? The striker coming into play in a major way here for Legitful, or pardon me, for Triflex, as he's able to take Legitful right off the top of the heady. And this is one of those weapons, Doug, where for an SMG round, you just don't want to see me with a striker. It's just, the gun sounds like plastic, and I've had airsoft guns with more lethality than it feels like. But Triflex wants to get aggressive. He's going to the fist. Not able to get there in time. So 1v1, both players at 100 HP. Zuri trying to find Legitful as he is just smoothing across this map at the moment.
Ooh, he's got the intel, looking to see if he can pick him off. He knows exactly where he is, and Zuri can play this a little bit more aggressively. It certainly seems like he's the hunter right now, and Legitful is just trying to find a moment to breathe, a moment to collect his thoughts and figure out how he wants to play this. Now we see Legitful rotating out, but the problem is Zuri is on the flag, and he has this shot on there. Zuri's going to get the flag. They're up 2-0 over Leader and Legitful.
That's just an absolutely brilliant play. I mean, you've got the little bit of line of sight break there by, what is that, giant pillar of tires or whatever you want to call it. And, well, I can't even talk about the FAMAS round as the Leader and Legitful are able to bounce back in a major way. Good shots over the top there for Legitful. But, yeah, again, just playing off the flag, that's just a really smart angle. He knows that the best place for him to be challenged is from the right. He hard scopes it, realizes the chal comes from the left. He just reposition. Now Zuri able to top the box and find an opening kill, and right behind him is Triflex for the second. These AR and SMG rounds went by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, so what you were just talking about him playing the middle of the map there reminds me a lot of what we were talking about on the very first map, right? Like you
Mm,
get a health advantage and you don't have to play super aggressively, but you do need to establish map control. And that's exactly what he did. He knew he had the health advantage. He plays the middle of the map, establishes his control there, and then knows that he can just sit back and wait. It's exactly what happened again. Triflex and Zuri up 3-1, excuse me, over leader and Legitful Zuri, trying to flank around. Let's see if he can spot anyone. Triflex is able to get first blood. Zuri again still looking, and it's not going to matter as Triflex and Zuri put another one up on the board, a 4-1 over leader and Legitful.
Oh, the one tap that comes out and then the quick swap right back over for the second shot in the barrel. Brilliant things there for the double up. But it's one of those things as well that you're seeing that time around, it was Triflex and Zuri with a health pool disadvantage, and they try to make sure they've got control over the flag side of the map. Now as a little bit of even trading comes back and forth, stuns and mollies will be tossed out. Zuri making the play forward, Triflex watching over the top of them. And we've got ourselves match point, not just map point here for Triflex and Zuri.
Talk about trust, right? Knowing that you can flood into the opponents and just get all up in their front pocket and take their lunch money, knowing that you have a teammate back to provide and help cover and trade out those kills, which is exactly what happened. It was just played super well. Triflex and Zuri look very scary right now.
Go to MK2s for our marksman round. We've also got thermites, and you got to keep in mind their stim shots, which could heal you up if you get shot from a distance, but Triflex snaps again onto Legitful. Leader's position has been made known, and he's going to have to hit 2 incredible shots. There's at least one of which, but again, right back to 100 HP quickly. The second chow comes out, Leader able to grab that and immediately put him back to 100 HP. He's got an angle, but gets caught. A little bit of bullet penetration. Triflex going for the 360. Not going to hit it, and Leader Legitful will at least stay alive for now.
Yeah, and you wonder, yeah, you won the round, but for Leader and Legitful, what do you interpret that? This guy's over here trying to do 360 no scopes, playing with his feet or whatever on his controller. That certainly never feels good. And as of course, with that in mind, Leader and Legitful both drop as well. It seems like regardless of winning the round, it wasn't going to make a huge difference in the outcome of everything as Triflex and Co are able to put away Leader and Legitful and advance to the next round.
Yeah, pretty quick one there for sure. Very decisive. But, I will say the last time that I had a chance to cast over a city circuit, it was with the Dallas Empire. And this was the trend in the early stages, even up through until the grand finals. Our 2 favored teams were just smoking everybody. One of which those teams was Triflex and Zuri. These guys extremely talented, extremely confident. And you obviously saw instances of both of that in that pretty swift 3-0 through and through. I would say 100% here, Doug. These guys are a favorite to see in the grand finals once we get there.
Yep, 1000%. I cannot agree with you more. And for Leader and Legitful, it seemed like they never really got going, right? They never got any momentum going.
Yeah.
It was from the very beginning that they just kind of seemed a little bit lost and they couldn't go toe to toe with Triflex and Zuri. So an unfortunate exit for them. I'm sure that's certainly not how they wanted their night to end. But if you're Triflex and Zuri, you can't be satisfied with this. With how good these 2 guys are, you're pushing for gold here.
Yeah, 100% the case. Again, there's a lot riding on this. Not just the win here, but there's $100,000 total that remain for the city circuit finals, which will be coming up. I imagine. I don't know. I don't have an exact date on it, but I imagine it'll be happening in the near future. So better practice you get now, the better you'll likely favor yourself as you get to those finals. We're going to send things to a break. While we're away, though, we'll be giving some love to what has happened so far with the Minnesota RØKKR this season, taking a look at what Silly was able to talk about with his dad back in Father's Day a couple of weeks ago.
And one day I started playing him, and I couldn't stay alive for like a second, so I'm like, man, he got good all of a sudden.
My name is Justin Fargo Palmer. My gamer tag is Silly, and this is my dad, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
The age I started putting like a lot of time into Call of Duty was probably about 13 or 14.
He would spend a lot of time in his room playing video games. I used to play like Halo online with him. And, we did okay. And then one day I started playing him, and I couldn't stay alive for like a second. So I'm like, man, he got good all of a sudden. So then he's like, starts playing online with all these kids from all these different cities. And he said he wanted to go to an event. So, I had to pay for the flight, pay for the hotel, and I took him to his first couple events.
I was definitely a little weary going by myself when I was young like that. I'm like, I'm gonna go out there and get kidnapped, you know, and the fact that he would go there with me to actually support me was awesome.
I realized Justin could do this as a career probably in 2017 when esports started getting really big. And ever since then, it's just 2019, it's blown up exponentially. I would take him to these events. We would have to, you know, pay for a flight, pay for a hotel, and he would get like, you know, 16th, 20th place, come home with no money. Did this a few times. Maybe a year later, they started making like $500 a month. He used to get sponsors, but his hotel would be paid for, his flight would be paid for. So he started going by himself. But then he'd still, you know, get like, you know, top 12, top 16, maybe make a few $100, $1,000. But then in 2017 is when it started getting bigger and they started paying more. Sponsors would give monthly stipends to the players and the salary started going up. And then once that started, I knew that this could really turn into something good.
My reaction with my family to winning the Call of Duty championships, all of us were just extremely excited. My dad was sending me videos of my mom running around the house, you know, she's crying. My grandma was there too with one of my best friends. They were pretty much all just cheering from home, and right after I won, I saw the videos of them cheering, so, you know, it made me feel even better about it.
And when they won, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, because they were one map away from not even making bracket play, and they went all the way and won it. It was just unbelievable.
Y'all ready for this? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, Doug and I were just absolutely vibing to the jams that were being played in the background. That was a slapper right there for sure.
You know,
Speaking of slappers, we've got ourselves a first of what will be 2 semifinals. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips will be playing up against Xylem and Nifties. Don't make fun of my lingo, okay? I'm trying to change the meta.
here's the
You
problem.
got bangers and you got slappers. That wasn't
Li-
quite a banger. That was just a slapper. Just kind of
Listen-
slapped you a little bit.
Here's the problem: is you just gave the producers an excellent way to mess with us, right? Like we're over here vibing, we're dancing, we're like feeling the song, and then it's cut to us. Done. There goes our careers. Over.
Or do our careers get made because of that? I don't know about you, but I do drop it like it's hot.
I think it's a good chance to cut the game here. Yep. Yeah, let's go ahead and cut the game. Map 1 is going to be Rust. Map 2, Stack. And then Speedball, Docs, and King. This is the semifinals. And we've got Mr. Clutch up against Whips, up against Xylem and Nifties. We'll see if Xylem's able to spot anything early on. Going to get a little bit of intel up on top, middle, rotate around the bottom. Nothing doing quite yet, however.
Clutch Up able to find first blood. The R9, as good as the shotgun as it is, there's not a lot of opportunity, you feel like, to get use out of it here, although Xylem will make me eat my words just a touch, as he's able to find first blood, not necessarily cleanly, but he's able to do it without dropping any health of his own. So now a slight advantage for Xylem. 100 plays 83 as far as the health pools are concerned. And Xylem's going back to old tried and true here with the R9 as his main weapon of choice, and that will do well as he's able to get the double tap through just before the flag gets touched.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said the R9 wasn't very good, and then every kill afterwards was due to the R9.
That's just the way it goes sometimes, Doug.
The curse of the caster is true. Folks at home, believe it or not, it's not just a joke. You just saw it firsthand. We'll see if Nifty and Xylem are able to keep up their success. And that's certainly going to help, as Mr. Clutch Up is not living up to his namesake. He drops at 1 and 2 Whips. Last one standing on the blue side, and in a 1v2, kind of like doing what you can to stay alive. This is always a bad situation to be in.
Absolutely. He does have some high ground to play with here as he's going to make his way up top and see if he can get a jump on anybody. Maybe quite literally, as there's one player directly below him. But every angle's a dangerous one to check, and here comes the R9. There we go, able to find the first kill, and just as soon as you thought maybe he was going to be able to sneak out the second, it's Xylem right below him. The shots are good for both players. Down to 6 HP is Xylem, so Whips will hold a small advantage. Flag gets touched, and he's able to get the angle just in the nick of time. So Whip's able to clutch things up here and tie things one apiece.
Yeah, picking up where his teammate wasn't able to there, and it was a big play, right? That 1v2, I mentioned that's certainly not where you want to be, and the man pulled it off in rather impressive fashion, given the tools that he had at his disposal, and that's going to tie it up 1-1. Mr. Whips, again, Whips and Mr. Clutch Up trying to make something happen here in this third round and build on that advantage. Adam's already been tagged up pretty good, and it's going to be forced to back off a little bit here as both teams vie for control of top middle.
Yeah, Nifty's actually lucky to get away without taking any damage. Good help here as Xylem's able to get at least one bullet in. Nifty closing things out onto Whips. And now Mr. Clutchup has given his position away. He's been stunned down to 98 HP, and he's going to be surrounded. Nearly gets good timing on the first gunfight, but would have been hard-pressed to find the second, even if he won the first gunfight. So things, again, looking solid here really throughout for Xylem, as he's been finding the majority of kills in this matchup so far for him and his duo. 4-1 for him in total as we go to one more pistol round before we swap things over weaponry-wise.
Once again, you're seeing more of an aggressive push out of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips as they push for top middle control. Whips is going to be the first one to drop, and Mr. Clutch Up follows up shortly thereafter, and Xylem and Nifty's put another one up on the board, up 3-1 right now over their semifinal counterparts.
Extended Mag's definitely playing a bit of an impact there as there's a lot of shots being spammed, but now we're going to get our first true taste of automatic weapons, as it'll be submachine guns by form of the P90 for our next two. And you can see the pace is actually severely slowed up for Xylem and Nifty's as they're playing extremely passively. Waiting for some information as a couple of shots were exchanged between Whips and Xylem, of which Xylem got the better of the argument as he's got 52 HP to just a 20 of Whips, and the stun's not going to cut for Mr. Clutch Up. He's just trying to make a play moving forward. Is going to have to back away as he realizes he's got no information at all, and he might very well be putting himself in a bad position.
Yeah, and actually he gave his position away, but he's able to land the shots onto Xylem right in the jaw to get that kill, a very much needed kill onto Nifty and Xylem there, leaving it a 1v2, but Nifty's going to tie it up in a 1v1. Mr. Clutch Up doesn't last for very long. As Xylem and Nifty's are able to give him the hands, courtesy of Nifty himself. And that's going to put another round up on the board. What a shot out of Nifty. Can we talk about that for a second?
Oh, for sure. That's absolutely merited, but I'm actually more questioning, why are you giving up your position if you're Whips? You've got the numbers advantage. You don't have to play for the flag. All you've got to do is just stay alive and milk the clock, and he gets cut across, gives an opportunity for those clean shots to come through in the 1v1. Clutch Up tries to hold down the trigger, hoping and praying for a kill, but will be stuffed. And now he's in a 1v2. He gets the information, but it's just a touch too late, as Xylem and Nifty is all of a sudden on map point very quickly here.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of different looks out of Xylem and Nifty's, and while the approach has been different, the outcome, interestingly enough, is the same almost every single time. I think this is giving me very similar to vibes very similar, to the match that we just casted over. Xylem and Nifty's look very good right now.
Well, we're going to switch to ARs. It's going to be the Ram 7. And Whips will finally be able to give something to root for here for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips as they do find their second round, mostly on the back end of what were really clean shots here from Whips. Good read on the first, even better adjustment to get a favorable advantage onto the second. Obviously, from here on out, everything a must-win round. And if you don't take it by my candor, my hopes not necessarily all that high based on the trends that we've seen so far in our first 6 of the 7 rounds that we've had. This time, Xylem, Nifty, going to play a little bit more passively, try to use the utility to milk out some information, but it's Whips who comes away still with first blood.
Yeah, Mr. Clutch Up with a slow... well, you can't really call it a start anymore, as the map is really just one round away from ending. That's going to leave Nifty, however, in a 1v2 up against Whips and Mr. Clutch Up at 5-3 right now. It's certainly not out of the realms of possible. He has the gun to pull it off with. He's just got to get any information. That's certainly going to help. He's able to get the first one, retreat back. He doesn't have a lick of health left to his name, however. 8. And yeah, you sneeze on him at that point, he dies. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips put another one up.
ARs will be expired now. It just comes down to what do we get next. And I believe really all we have left are marksman rifles, so we should be seeing those come out to play. It just comes down to what variation is it. It's going to be the Kar 98. Proximity mine, pistols, and what looks to be flashes for the rest of the kit here, as Xylem is not going to trust the car. He's going to go to the pistol instead. Nifty able to connect for the first shot in the round as Mr. Clutch Up brought down to 13 HP. That's going to be enough for Nifty to say, let's go to the pistols and try to close this out. He's able to find Clutch Up, but now he's going to maybe get the second challenge. Predicts it correctly and wins it face up while stunned. Xylem and Nifty's take map number 1, 6-3.
Yeah, the fact that he did that while stunned was probably the most impressive, and I like the way that I believe that was Whips. Excuse me. I like the way that Whips tried playing that, but it just was too much. Nifty 8 and 4, Xylem at 7 and 5, and the damage between both of those guys was almost identical. Really, just a handful of points off from each other. So it just goes to show that it was a team effort. They both played really well. They were shooting well, and while Mr. Clutch Up and Whips were able to put a couple of rounds on the board, it was by and large a one-sided affair.
And that's just kind of what the trend that we've seen in previous city circuits. As much as you would love to see close games coming through, it's really tough to essentially see and showcase the fact that even in the semifinals, we have dictated pretty heavy favorites as far as how these matchups have kind of made the trend so far. Really tough things, to be sure. I mean, it's wild to think that's the case. I mean, it just also goes to show that there are favorable duos in these at even the highest level until they get to grand finals, and it looks like that very well could be the case here once again for Xylem and Nifties. Just to remind you guys, we will be going on with the second semifinal after this one has completed, so we'll see both semis before we get to that grand finals. Coming up next, though, speaking of seeing things, we'll be watching Stack get some love, as that'll be map number 2 in this semifinal specifically.
Yeah, and this might be a different outcome, right? Like, we saw a couple of interesting things out of Nifty and Xylem, and again, Mr. Clutch Up and Whips just looked a little behind, but the map might lend itself to a different outcome, right? You've got more of linear sight lines. It's not nearly as open. You've got less angles that you have to worry about, and it's not as complex of a map to play, which I think lends itself towards Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, and we'll see how they play that out. But if we see a pretty similar performance out of Xylem and Nifties, this can't possibly end well.
It's one of those things that's like, with these more favored duos, we start to see their strength mostly off of rounds that are pistol rounds or shotgun pistol rounds or these marksman rifle rounds, what I like to call kind of the more unique or strange rounds compared to the weapons that you would normally use, whether you're playing in CDL playlists or regular pubs or even in Warzone. Those are the rounds that you really see a definitive advantage for one team over the other. That's where I think the showcase of strength is really kind of put on exhibition, where you're really kind of getting a look of why these guys are winning rounds. Like we mentioned with the Zuri and Triflex from before, the way that they use their tacticals and lethals was one of the reasons why they were able to come up on top so often when it comes to pistol rounds and things that are a little bit more estranged. But if you're looking at this from the side of the quote-unquote underdogs here, which we're going to frame up as being Mr. Clutch Up and Whips mostly because they are down one map, you've got to find a way to get together and either play it as a tandem duo and just get good team shots when you're playing with weapons that you're not as comfortable with, or find ways to isolate and get information and convert it quickly, because that's what we're seeing at the high level from teams like Xylem and Nifties, as we're going to be loading right in to Stack coming up for map number 2.
Yeah, and I think, to kind of go back to what I was touching on earlier, I think that's something that Stack affords that Rust does not.
100% agree.
You can play different styles. You don't have all of those open sight lines to look at. If you want to play back and play in your spawn, you can do that, right? So I think, again, this feels a little bit better for Mr. Clutch Up, and Whips. But again, if it is a similar outcome, it's just going to be a very short series.
See what happens here, as it will be a little bit of a double hit for Whips and Clutch Up. Looks like to be pistols to start, and that's indeed the case. Renetti's in hand, a couple of shots landing, but not enough for a kill yet. Clutch Up will find one, but enough time has been given to get Nifty involved, and not only does he find the immediate trade, he's also got a favorable angle to find the second kill from down low. Brilliant shots from Nifty. He doesn't miss a single bullet by the look of it between both those kills.
Yeah, that does not feel good. If you're Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, that's a rough way to kick things off here. And it looks like they kind of want to keep that up, Whips. No knives connecting there. And you see him push up across top middle. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips both have taken a good bit of damage, but it's actually even for Xylem and Nifty's as well. So we'll keep a close eye on how that plays out. Whips pushing across the side. Mr. Clutch Up is watching his flank, seeing if there's anyone who's mirroring that move, and now they back off. Seems like they're a little indecisive on how they want to play this here.
Yeah, and you got to make a decision here quickly because the flag's going to open up, and we've got a dead tie on health pools currently. So next bullet could very well win the game, or at least this map. And, well, Mr. Clutch Up will not just put one bullet into Xylem, but a couple to find the kill. Here comes Nifty around the back, and Clutch Up, he'll keep the ADS on lock, and we'll steal away one of the pistol rounds. And this is exactly what you need to see. At least go 1-for-1 in pistol, shotty, marksman, rifle rounds, and hope that you find some favor once we get to ARs and SMGs, of which the ARs will be up next. It'll be Odin's with a pretty advanced optic here to try to lock things down for the next 2 rounds.
You know, that was a very different look we saw there out of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. They played that much more slowly, and that might be the key. That might be the key to their success. If they can continue to keep that pace and make them come to you. Make Xylem and Nifty's come to you. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips can control the map a bit better. And look at that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We'll see whether or not they're able to replicate that success. But for now, I like what I'm seeing. I like the adjustments out of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips.
Keep things tight. See if they can take both. This time it's team shots into Whips. He falls quickly. Xylem did get tagged up a touch, so not an impossible situation for Mr. Clutch Up, but he gets double stunned by the sound of it. So his position has been made known, and there's a molly. That'll deal a little bit of extra damage. Forced to take the gunfight up first. And, well, he does win the initial gunfight, but no chance to respond to the second, as it was a full flood coming out for Nifty. And that's going to be enough to, again, keep things even 2 rounds to 2.
I do like how Xylem and Nifty played that, right? They dropped the molly behind him to kind of force him up the stairs, and while there was one kill that went down, they were able to lock it up. So I like how I'm seeing them use their grenades and everything they have at their disposal. I like that it seems very well thought out, and it's not just running at people. And that paid off for in there. Now we're tied up 2-2. Nifty drops, and Mr. Clutch Up drops as well. Health advantage in favor of Whips, which we haven't had the advantage, or we haven't had the pleasure of saying very much in this series.
But we've got crossbows as what is technically our primaries here. No one seems to really prefer using it, though, at least not in this initial round, as Xylem is crouch walking his way around the tires. Whip's getting a little bit cautious. We'll see him up top. Just be patient with the shots. That's exactly the case. Able to lock things in. And Mr. Clutch Up and Whips maintain their narrow lead thus far through 5.
Passive play again, right? They sit back and spawn. They wait. He knew he had the angle onto the flag. He knew that he had the health advantage. He could just kind of sit back a little bit. So I really like what I'm seeing out of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips here. I like the adjustments, that they've made, and that's going to lead them to a 1-round advantage. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, once again, still pretty healthy, as are Xylem and Nifty so far. Both teams using some of their accessories, but nothing connecting quite yet. And pretty passive play out of both squads. Neither of them have really crossed the 50-yard line. Now we see Mr. Clutch Up trying to land a crossbow. Nothing doing quite yet.
Sounds like they've got thermite tips on top of them as well. So a little bit of extra zone coming through. Whip's able to respond to Xylem absolutely beautifully, as the shots weren't quite true for Xylem off of what was the initial peak. So now Nifty, he's got a 1v2 in front of him. 39 HP to play with. 3 seconds till he has to touch the flag, if at all. He needs to find the shots, and he'll find the kill completely. A 1v2, which had no business coming through for Nifty, gets locked in, and that feels like a major moment in this second map here for the side of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips.
Mr. Clutch Up was looking at him. He knew exactly where he was going to come from. He heard him coming around the corner and still wasn't able to land the shots. That is demoralizing. And you see Whips is already down to 50 health. Mr. Clutch Up has already taken a ton of damage as well. However, somehow manages to get the kill onto Nifty. It's going to leave him in a 1v2. And as I say that, of course, it turns into 1v1 Xylem and Whips. And Mr. Clutch Up and Whips put another one up.
Man, fortunate to bounce back there, because if you lose that round, all full has been lost, it feels like. But still staying tried and true. I said this is technically a shotgun round with the rogues, but we're seeing nothing but pistols thus far, and I imagine that's probably going to stay the case. And it really does feel like, with this current rotation of weapons, that whoever's got the better pistol hand is going to win these matchups, because you're usually using the pistol over the marksman and the shotgun, it feels like. Plus, you obviously get 2 rounds of pistol, so maybe some consideration to be thrown to that conversation at a later point. Xylem comes around the corner, player prone underneath the arms of his ADS, and that'll be Mr. Clutch Up and Whips all of a sudden now on map 2 point.
So a couple of interesting things to talk about here. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips played that very differently than they have the last couple of rounds. Also, we're seeing a very different Xylem than we saw on the first map. He's 3-8 right now when he did a whole lot of the heavy lifting on Rust. So that might be the key to unlocking the potential of Xylem and Nifty's. If Xylem's able to put up impressive numbers, that might prove to be the difference. And if he falls a little bit behind like he is here, we're starting to see a lot of the weaknesses of this squad come to the surface.
Well, P90's in hand here, and I was about to say, Whips might just get caught here off the stun mid-reload, and he does. Xylem and Nifty's able to keep things alive. Remember, we'll have one more P90 round, and then it'll go back to the very beginning, which was Renetti's, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
So we'll see if round 11 comes through or not. Whip's going to take the mantle on the left-hand side, prospectively on these tires. He'll be stunned. An aggressive push through for Xylem, and he'll find first blood. Things looking dire here as Whips is caught in a 1v2. Gets the first. And to be fair, that's on the more healthy opponent in Nifty, who was at 100 HP, so the timing is going to have to be everything here. As Whips wants to play around the backside, and Xylem is waiting for him 100% red. Round 11 coming up, and it should be Renetti's for our final round.
Round 11. First one we've had tonight, and it's been a good one, right? To see how Mr. Clutch Up and Whips have responded after that first map. It's really impressive. I like that they're continuing to push it here. We've seen a couple of different looks from them. It's been relatively even. Whips doing most of the lifting there to bring us to this situation. And now Nifty has already taken more than half of his health. Whips has lost a considerable amount as well. And you see the map kind of come to a screeching halt. But as I say that, of course, Whips is flanking around the corner. He's spotted one. He's able to land the shots and connect. Nifty goes down 1v2.
Yeah, Nifty was really hoping for some help. Xylem gets a couple of connections, squeaks around the corner, but it's a double chow, and Mr. Clutch Up and Whips will work their way right back in, secure the round 11, but it really comes down to earlier in that round. You saw it. It looked like Xylem was really hoping he was going to get some help earlier on in that gunfight, did not receive any, and from there on out, the double chow's too strong, so we'll tie things up in map count, 1 round apiece. And we'll be heading over to map number 3 here shortly, which will see us transition right back to Speedball.
Now, with what we've seen so far, knowing the differences, like we saw super big open with a lot of height advantage, and then we saw a little bit of height advantage, but very narrow sight lines, right? Very linear sight lines, and the ability to play a bit more passively. Speedball adds a totally different wrench into that machine. Given what we've seen from both of these teams and the performances thus far, I like Mr. Clutch Up and Whips here. I really do.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how things kind of occur. Again, a much more open map. So at this point, you're looking at likely the same kind of idea where you're trying to use your utility as best as possible, try to isolate some kills, do what you can to get the information off of what should be, hopefully, again, free information off of those nades. So we'll see how everything kind of comes through here as we're still kind of waiting to see what really for this point in time, Mr. Clutch Up and Whips is still kind of baiting us along. We have not really seen them pop off quite yet, not to the same level that we saw previously in map number 1 for Nifty and Xylem, but it very well just could be an arena and environment thing because Rust is a very strange map compared to our more traditional gunfights. And well, from here on out, it's the traditional gunfight maps that we know, like you mentioned at the top of this matchup. We've got Speedball next, then Docks afterwards, and then King if we need it for map number 5. So you figure that maybe there is some consideration there as far as Rust being a little bit more of a stranger gunfight map. Now that you're going to more tried and true locations, maybe your set strategies and your familiarity will pay off more here for the side of Clutch Up and Whips. Only time will tell. We're loading in right now, though, so our conversation will be cut short, and we'll go right into try to build some arguments and exhibits here for this case as we move forward. 1-1 again, the map count, and it's Speedball loading up with P90s for our first 2 rounds.
What a start. I love the P90. I love kicking off the map with it too. And what I'm exceptionally curious about, again, is seeing how Mr. Clutch Up and Whips play the map. Do they play aggressively? Do they play a bit more passively? We're back, and then we're gone. Just like that, like Ghost in the Night. But, again, back to the action. Mr. Clutch Up, first one to drop. Looks like Whips is being hunted as well, but he's able to land the first one. It's going to leave Xylem, the last one standing on the outside of Xylem and Co. down to 58 health. He has gotten the first kill. And they're on opposite sides of the map here. Whips is going to spot him, able to land a good bit of damage. And Xylem was able to trade it back with a couple of shots of his own. First round going in favor of Xylem and Nifties.
Close moment, though. Xylem just hoping and praying the jump shot will pay off, and luckily it does. You saw a couple of nice shots coming through to kind of give the health pool advantage in favor of the duo of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. A couple opening shots and tags will come through onto Nifty. Again, kind of reiterating that same point, but second gunfight that comes through sees Mr. Clutch Up completely weakened up. And maybe the trade's there. No, it's not actually, as Whips, he actually catches that nade for a moment and quickly rotating over is the help. And Xylem and Nifties will find themselves the first two SMG rounds as Nifty comes out of nowhere to help get this final kill.
Yeah, interesting to see that he was able to land a good bit of damage and then runs away. Right, looked like he was looking to reposition instead of taking more of the aggressive route. Whips looking to see if he can catch anyone right off the spawn. But all he did was make a lot of ruckus, a cacophony, with no damage being dealt. But Whips and Mr. Clutch have both have taken a good bit as well. Nifty's able to get first blood, and Xylem puts the finishing touches up 3-0 right now over Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. I know before the map started, I said I felt pretty good about Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, and well, I was wrong.
At least so far. I mean, don't go ahead and sell yourself short yet here, Doug. As we'll have the CR56 is important to note, one of the newer weapons. I guess most people are just calling it the Galil, and okay, well, maybe you might have been a little bit more wrong here, Doug. Xylem and Nifties will take the first two sets of SMG and ARs up 4-0 quickly. But it's one of those things that, okay, now you're going to be going over to pistol, shotties, and marksmans. You've got to find a way at this point for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips to get a nice convincing round, get some momentum built, and how about that headshot for Mr. Clutch Up for a kill? C4 in hand, predicted nicely as it will tag up Nifties heavily. Mr. Clutch Up will just need one more bullet, and there it is. He's able to find it nicely. So 1-4 goes the score, and a very solid pistol shotty round, at least to open things up for Clutch Up and Whips.
Yeah, we wanted something a little bit more convincing there, but honestly, a win's a win, and they desperately needed that round there. That's a very different story if we're talking about 5-0 right now. So Mr. Clutch Up and Whip showing signs of life. We'll see if with the same weapon set they're going to be able to do it again, and it looks like so far that is the case. Nifty drops. Xylem's trying to keep them at bay with as much damage as he possibly can, but it's not going to matter. They get up close and personal, and Mr. Clutch Up and Whips getting a clean sweep on that weapon rotation.
So now that our shotguns are technically out, we're looking for pistols and marksman rifles. These were weapon loadouts that were essentially one-for-one trades in our previous map. It's EBRs. For our marksmen, Mr. Clutch Up has already been tagged up pretty heavily, just down to 45 HP. Good information here from Whips, but the shots not as good as you'd hope. And with a little bit of a push through, Xylem able to work his way in with the R9 blueprint of the Skull Hammer in hand, and well, that'll do enough to put them on map point. This is potentially the round that sends them to a 2-1 map count, unless Whips and Mr. Clutch Up have something to say about it here on our second round of EBR.
That's certainly going to help. Mr. Clutch Up lands the first one. He's going to have an opportunity at the second one. Doesn't connect. He's going to back off, switch for the shotgun, and gets up close and personal, but it doesn't matter. With that said, Mr. Clutch Up and Whips win the round again. Now down 5-3, but once again, they're just fending off what seemed like for a moment to be the inevitable, but I'm starting to be convinced otherwise.
We'll see how things move here as we'll go into akimbo pistols, and Whips will find the first kill, tries to spam for the second. You might want to play passive with this weapon loadout. Will absolutely not allow you to. And now 4-5 to score, and after a very gung-ho round from the side of Whips and Mr. Clutch Up, you wonder what adjustment might come through, if any, here for our quote-unquote favored team, at least based on scores so far of Xylem and Nifty. It looks like they will try to play individually, one on one side, one on the other. Flash will come through, but Whip's able to find first blood. Do you just try to run here and just get right into the face of Xylem? Do they know where he's at? You can't really play for the flag at this distance, so you've got to make a chow at some point in time. Xylem will take this reprieve to reset the ammo. He gets information on one player, goes for the challenge. Shots are good for the kill. 53 HP left for Mr. Clutch Up. Small advantage with 10 seconds to play.
What is happening? What have Mr. Clutch Up and Whips done differently in the last 5 rounds, excuse me, to bring us to this point? Because it's like a light switch. It's like a totally different team.
Yeah, it really does feel like it's just the weapon differential, right? I mean, first 4 rounds go the way go the way of Xylem and Nifties because they're SMGs and ARs, and that's the unfortunate bit of news because you've got SMGs to follow, but it's going to be a double hit through the obstacle course, of which Nifty tosses a grenade at and doesn't find a connection, so he's in a 1v2. Major health disadvantage, gets a couple of tags on the 1, plus the second, but isn't able to follow up with the shot, so Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, at least Mr. Clutch Up at this moment, living up to his name as they bounce back, being down 4-0, and they find themselves now currently up 2 maps to 1.
I would just like to go on record and say that I felt confident about my pick of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips the entire time. I felt really good about it, and I knew it, right? There was no doubt in my mind at any point in time. No, a really, really, really strong performance out of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. I mean, proving us wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt, they proved us wrong. But that's the way that it goes sometimes, Doug. Sometimes we have to live in that moniker of just being wrong sometimes. But at least you're able to frame yourself up and go backwards and say, hey, I said these guys were good from the get-go. May have had my second guesses, but my initial, you got to trust that gut. You really do. Really do.
We'll see how the gut pays off on this next map. We are going to Docks. We haven't been on Docks before today. Excuse me. We've been on Docks before. We just haven't been on Docks today. So we'll see how that plays out on this map. Again, you've got that underground part of the map, which can prove to be sneaky. We saw a lot of that at the beginning of Gunfight. We see less of it now. It's not nearly as surprising as it once was, but still something to keep in mind. And Docks, much like a couple of other maps on here, Bazaar being one of the Docks is one of my favorites. I love Docks.
Yeah, it's my favorite too, actually. I think the biggest thing is, and maybe I have said this before when we casted the 3v3, was that you've got actual callouts between the green building and the brick building. You don't to say he's top middle. What does that mean? There's so many top middle portions. So obviously a symmetrical map, but with its unique callouts, and we do appreciate that for sure. Yeah, Doc's by far one of my favorites, and there are a couple of cheeky things like you mentioned, not only just sliding through the bottom side of that sewer, but you've also got that little curb right behind that wooden wall that gives you a bit of a heady to kind of watch over the top. It's a difficult angle, but one that could come into play for marksman rifles, so we'll keep our eyes aware of those two things potentially coming through. But that said, we've seen 2 very open maps where, again, we saw a lot of value coming out of both tactical and lethal variations of grenades. This is one where those lethal grenades will 100% merit potential kills if you find a way to get it into a building where a player just happens to be sitting, because there's not a lot of room to maneuver in those buildings. But beyond that, your ability to find free information is a bit more limited here because of those buildings do exist, and they're, of course, very popular.
And, we saw when we last casted this map, there were a couple of instances where we saw players put into really hard situations because of dropping a molly on the second floor of one of those buildings. It severely limits mobility for teams depending on where they are on the map. So keep a very close eye on that. I really like your call out on that heady. It's a super tough angle, but
Really
with the
is.
right player, with the right player using that heady on that little edge back there at spawn, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, we are going to be loading in, so we'll see what we get for our weapons. It was Renetti's for the first map for our first 2 rounds. Our last one was SMGs with the P90s. What will we get this time? It's kind of like Forrest Gump. It's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. If you have a good idea, though, you should expect at least a couple of different things, but you never know truly what you're going to get. Do you have a favorite specific weapon that's not like your typical M4 or MP5 that you get in your hands and just like, oh yeah, it's on, baby?
I don't know, man. The M4 and the MP5 are bread and butter. Like they've been around super long, and they're just like my go-to. I just feel much more confident with them in my hand.
Fair
That's
enough.
just me though. What about you? What do you think?
MP7s when they come around, I think, is the easy answer, without question. As this time around, we'll be sticking with EBRs and ARs here. A little bit of a weird combination as far as the loadouts are concerned. But of course, you figure that most players will just stay true to the assault rifles, as we're going to see a little bit of instance. We talked about it. A little curve that you could pop yourself up on. That was used for information. Now down low, shots connect, but now all of a sudden Whips is in a very awkward spot. Has to get out of this ditch. He will be allowed to get through, but his information and his position should be aware for both players. And the timing, not good as he tries to come around the corner. Xylem and Nifties, as we've seen before, dominating the AR rounds as the kilos come through nicely for them here in our first.
Yeah, what we need to see differently from them, though, isn't their ability to start strong. They did that last time. That was great. It didn't pay off, right? Mr. Clutch Up and Whips were able to put together an obscene amount of rounds to win the map. So we'll see what have Xylem and Nifty done differently to be able to put a round away.
Well, Nifty's able to find first blood, making life very difficult again for Nifty, or pretty for Whips. And, well, he doesn't check the angle close right. Would have been a tough one to expect, but it's one that pays truly for Xylem. Clean shots all the way through the engagement, and the AR rounds once again coming up nicely for our team currently in purple. So what do we get next? How about this? Big boy scopes on 357s. It's one of those things that's like, you don't think the 357 could get any worse? Here, Call of Duty says hold my beer as they put a big old scope on it.
Well, with that in mind, that was an important round for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips to be able to get one on the board, especially on that one. And if they can steal this round again, we're talking about a totally different situation here. And this, again, could look very similar to what we saw in the last map where Xylem and Nifty's rush out of the box and they aren't able to finish. Mr. Clutch Up pushing bottom middle. See if he can spot anyone. Yep, he's going to know exactly where Xylem is. Get a little bit more information, try to cook his way out of there, but opts to back off there. He's going to spot Xylem, and Mr. Clutch Up is able to get him. Now Whips looking for the last one. They both played this very aggressively. Whips is back in their spawn, and it's inverted. He's going to spot Whips. Nifty trying to play the map, trying to play the angle, see if he can get a little bit more info on where the other player is right now. He has an idea of where Whips is, and now he knows where Mr. Clutch Up is too.
Tries to go for the challenge upstairs, not going to have it. And it does another situation where it really felt like Xylem was waiting for help from Nifty. Like, hey, I'm getting pushed, I'm getting stunned. And there was no help to be found. And how about this? Ah, darn it, we've got pistols in the secondary. I just want to see crossbows. Nothing but just crossbows and fists. That'd be fine.
Xylem able to get first blood here onto Whips. Mr. Clutch Up is met with an unfortunate circumstance behind him as he turns around, and gets some bullets to the face. Nifty's able to take care of business as Mr. Clutch Up falls, and that's a round going in favor of Nifty and Xylem there. And like, look, this the way this is playing out, we talked about this earlier. Xylem had a slow start. It didn't feel very comfortable for Xylem and Nifty's. 2-2 right now. It's Nifty the one who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Whips will take down Xylem. Now it's going to force Nifty to make a play, and he actually, unfortunately, tosses the Semtex at himself. I don't know where this goes, but you can kind of see him on the X-ray. I have no idea where he threw that nade. And he must have been caught mid-stun, thinking he could have gotten a heavier jump or something like that. But regardless, 3-3 we go, and unfortunately, we still have yet to see a crossbow kill. As we'll get 7.25s this time around with Renetti pistols. And a bit of damage already thrown into the mix as Xylem and Nifty's are softened up, and Nifty will fall quickly. So 2v1 as Xylem looking to clutch things up from the top side of the screen building.
Yeah, give him an opportunity to get back on track with the kills that we know and love out of him here, but he's in a bad situation. He doesn't have much as far as the long-distance weapon goes, and that 725 in his back pocket isn't going to do much to boot there as well. He's going to try to rotate out, but everyone knows where he is. He's getting shot every time he takes a step, and it's not going to make a difference. Mr. Clutch Up is able to get the kill and put Xylem 6 feet under.
Okay, got ourselves a game again here. It's been 2 round 11s in a row, and I hesitate to say that this is looking like a third, but I'd be lying if I didn't believe that. And now Nifty, he'll actually find our first extreme kill as he gets himself a throwing knife pick on the Mr. Clutch Up. Shots not bad from Whips. Tagged down to 63, but brings Xylem just down to a bullet. Going to be forced to reload. A couple of knives bouncing around him. Still has the 725 to try to challenge with, and he's going to maybe make his move top green. Reconsiders. Has at least some information, I believe, on the Nifty. And, well, at this point, Xylem's just going to snake a little bit top side of the bridge. Make sure he doesn't give him too much of an opportunity. Although, again, this is a situation where Whips has got both players down to what will be a very easy 1v2 if he gets a barrel shot in with the 725 but doesn't get the timing. Xylem and Nifty is able to keep things level at 4 rounds apiece.
Also, another really good example of feeling like Xylem and Nifty should have been shooting together and they weren't. Right?
Yeah.
It seemed like they were just waiting for help, and they weren't getting it from each other. And that might matter more. I mean, actually, that might prove to be the difference maker here on this map. That round worked, fortunately for them, as they tied up 4-4, but a little bit left to be desired when it comes to playing as a unit. We see Whips pushing his way up the stairs, looking if he's going to spot anyone. Nothing doing quite yet, but there is a member right around the wall. The C4 is going to come out, but C4 up against the gun. If C4 doesn't go off, the gun's going to win every single time. And that's going to be a kill as Xylem goes down. Nifty, the last one standing on the side, of Xylem and Nifty's.
Able to find the first, get some information off the shots from Mr. Clutch Up, and now he's going to 100% know he's top brick. Needs to stay alive, as Mr. Clutch Up was just hoping he would find enough damage to force a contest over the flag. But it's Xylem who is able to come through. Pardon me, Nifty was able to come through and find the final kill, and now all of a sudden they're once again on map point. And they're on SMGs, so you feel like this should be a loadout that does favor our team in purple, but wilder things have happened. We've seen round 11s through and through. This time it's team shots into Mr. Clutch Up, and he's taken down immediately, leaving Whips for a very early 1v2 situation.
Yeah, a tricky spot here. Whips is going to get spotted. He's down to 1 health. This looks like it's all but done, as he's going to go down. Xylem and Nifties are going to be forcing map 5, the first one of the broadcast. And folks, it's going to be a good one. We're going to King.
It's going to be King indeed. Pretty pumped about the King, actually. It's one of those that I don't really feel one way or the other about it. It's a very neutral map. You get a little bit of everything. You got some close quarters actions, not just outside on the cargo containers, but also top, middle, and in the flag itself. But you also got some good long line of sights. You can play for an aggressive peek over the top of that little tire heady on the wood barricade. So it's a little bit of everything brought into the mix here for King. And, well, it's kind of hard for me to put a narrative on this one, as Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, they looked really solid throughout really the last 3 maps in total. And it really hasn't been one way or the other. It's been a little bit of the pistol action going their way. Some AR rounds have come up in their favor, but the same has been true on the other side of the coin as well. It just comes down to, I feel like, who's able to get that first bit of damage is really using their numbers and their health advantage very wisely for the most part. We have not seen too many significant clutches really outside of that first map when it was a 6-3 in favor of Xylem and Nifty.
Yeah, I think what I liked there is that we saw a different look at Xylem and Nifties. It was previously Xylem that we thought if he plays well, the team as a unit is going to play well, and it's likely that they win. But it was actually Nifty who popped off. He went 10-4, 11-4, 10-4. Either way, the guy had a game. He had a great game, and that was just proved to be too much for Mr. Clutch Up. Into the deciding map again, map 5, as the series is tied 2-2. We're going to kick it off here on King, and it looks like, at least early on, no kills are going down yet.
Uzi's in the mix, though. Looks like there's no attachments on this Uzi either, as Whips will find first blood. Mr. Clutch Up has been hit a little bit. Nice C4, beautifully predicted, and that gives enough of an advantage to allow Mr. Clutch Up to finish the kill. But this C4 was absolutely put right into the back pocket of Xylem. Definitely assisting for an opening round, and we kept saying that Xylem and Nifty looked really strong with ARs and SMGs. If you're Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, and you can take the first 2 rounds, you're going to be feeling really good about this, but Mr. Clutch Up was looking for an aggressive push down the middle. It was Xylem who came down the left-hand side for a free first kill, and beyond that, now Whips has been figured out, and with that, a challenge from up top, too strong of a position as Xylem and Nifties will tie things up 1 apiece.
Looks like this map is going to be like a perfectly good representation of the entire series if they continue to go back and forth and trade rounds. Again, as has been the case thus far, this one's a really tough one to predict. I think both these squads, we had concerns at the beginning about one being significantly better matched than the other, but right now I've been pleasantly surprised with the level of competition here. Mr. Clutch Up pushing into their spawn. He's going to spot Nifties, tag him up. It looks like he wasn't able to hit him at all as Whips drops. That's going to leave Mr. Clutch Up as the last one standing, and he's not going to stand for very long as he drops. Xylem and Nifty's put another one up on the board, up 2-1 right now over their counterparts.
And we have SMGs and ARs that are going to be off the table immediately, so it's going to leave us with marksman's pistols and shotties for the rest of the time after this round comes to a conclusion. Which really, again, I would feel, if you go down 3-1, will not be a happy sentiment for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. Although Whip's able to find a couple of nice connections, brings Xylem down to 16 HP. One more bullet needed, and there it is. Beautiful connection, gets understanding as far as where Nifty is, tosses a Semtex his direction, but it will not connect. Nifty with 100 HP, looking to clutch up a 1v2.
There's really no other way he can play this at this point. Just kind of waiting to see if he can spot anyone. But the clock is ticking. It's certainly not on his side here, and he's gonna have to start making a play for the flag. The problem is Mr. Clutchup is already on it. Yeah, he's gonna get spotted. He landed a couple shots here, but it wasn't enough. Mr. Clutchup. Excuse me, it was Whips. My apologies. Was able to get the kill. The shots onto Nifties to tie it up 2-2.
Rogue's up next, but I imagine we will not see it, as we've got small reflex sights with silencers on our pistols, although Whips is maybe going to give it a go. See if you can make the click, click, boom come through. He's on a long flank. It'll be pistols instead as he finds one, and I don't think in a million years Xylem and Nifty were going to expect that aggressive of a push through. Now Xylem's caught in his initial spawn in a really tough spot, tosses a nade at his feet, thinking he might get challenged, goes to the rogue, can't even get a shot off. And Mr. Clutchup and Whips will retake the lead up 3-2.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the thing is, it seems to me like we're seeing something impressive out of one of the two teams every single round, right? Like I really loved how Mr. Clutchup and Whips used their numbers advantage to play both sides instead of going in at each other one at a time, like we probably would have seen out of Xylem and Nifties given their history. So it's just really well played. Mr. Clutchups is having a quieter game at 1 and 2, but that's certainly gonna help his case. Unfortunately, he drops Xylem Nifties, tie it up 3-3, and it's back and forth again.
That's our shotgun round down. As for a second there, I thought Xylem and Nifty were going to get the lineup, the true lineup initially. And it looks like for our pistol round, we'll get is the X13s or the M19s. Regardless, they've got extended mags, so a lot of shots to be thrown out here as a couple of trade of bullets will happen over towards the left-hand side. Mr. Clutchup up top, can't hit a shot. Will be forced to go up the angle. He's going to be challenged behind. He very appropriately is able to bait Nifty in, but the trade is there. 1v1. Whips gets the information, goes for the challenge, but Xylem is waiting for him. And this is the first time we've seen really 2 rounds in a row as Xylem able to clutch things up and put his team in the lead.
Yeah, and maybe that comes down to weapons. I don't know. I'm interested to see how Mr. Clutchup and Whips respond here, as the stat lines are identical between these two teams here. Again, just a testament to how evenly matched these two squads are. A pretty similar movement here across the bottom of the map as well. As Mr. Clutchup is able to get first blood, he's going to back off, and that's going to leave Nifty by himself. He's got 100 health. He's got plenty of health to boot. And for now, it looks like he has the height advantage. He's going to drop down spot 1, lands clean shots to clean Mr. Clutch up. That's going to leave him in a 1v1. Whips starting to rotate around. Doesn't realize Nifty wasn't able to read the map correctly, and he's going to get cleaned up. And once again, we're tied up 4-4.
Where is this going? This has to go around 11, right? I mean, this has to.
Yeah, given the current state of things, yeah. Oh, is it? No.
Ah,
man.
You keep giving these heavy loaded pistols on the rounds we want to see crossbows come through. I was going to get so excited. Imagine a world where we see the winner come by the way of crossbow.
We're going to riot if we don't get what we want.
I am going to riot. All I'm going to say right now is whoever's in our second semifinal, if they're watching and they don't use crossbows, I'm unsubbing. I don't know what I'm unsubbing from, but I'm unsubbing.
I know I support you in that. Whips getting first blood. He's going to heal himself up a bit, get back up to 100. Nifty alone. He's going to do the same, but he doesn't have any more there. And when you get peppered like he just did, there is no amount of health regeneration that can keep you healthy in that situation. Mr. Clutchup and co. Able to get the much needed round here, and that's going to push it to match point.
Another tight one, though. And crossbows off the start. They go right by each other. We also have Thermite out, and Whip's actually going to get a little bit of a connection onto Xylem. Wants to push his advantage. He moves right on forward, and Xylem, he said, I've seen this before. As I believe he realizes he's been pushed through, but the problem is nobody read Mr. Clutchup on the high ground, and so now it's Xylem, last hope for him and Nifties in a 1v2. Only 8 seconds to play with. He does have 100 HP, but he's got to win this pretty cleanly. Shots not there. And now the flag has to be played for. 7 seconds, gets one last reload. Here comes the Chow, gets a 1v1 for the win. That's going to give him the stim shot. He could play for the draw. Brilliant play.
Super, super well played there. And, the tricky thing is, Xylem had, 3 opportunities to get kills there? Maybe 4? Even, and just wasn't able to connect the shots. And kudos to him, given the circumstances, to extend it. And that's certainly going to help Xylem with the clean, buttery smooth shots to kick off the round. And that's going to completely flip the script. And now it's actually Xylem and Nifties that are up in a 1v2, excuse me, a 2v1. Mr. Clutch up the last one standing. Yeah, he's going to spot one, clean him up. But the C4 is going to prove to be too much. And as is fitting, given this entire series, it's not just map 3, but it's round 11 as well.
Well, I'll do you one better. Map 5, round 11.
The math thing.
After a draw, I know it's real hard, man. We see best of 3 so often in these. I don't blame you. But the problem here for Mr. Clutch and Whips is you thought you were going to win the game off the pistols, and now all of a sudden you're back to Uzis. C4 up top, not going to connect. A bit of exchange of damage has only led to a 2 health point advantage in favor of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. They'll surely know this, and now all of a sudden, it just comes down to, are you going to get caught out playing maybe a little bit too passively? Stun will come through. Xylem able to find a kill. Mr. Clutch Up, last one left alive. He does hold a health pool advantage, 69 HP, just to the 33 of Xylem and Nifties, but it's a 2-on-1. And he's going to be forced to have to make a play here as the flag will open up. 8 seconds, and Mr. Clutch Up is going to play off the time. Here comes the flag play. Able to find the first kill. The health pool advantage is still good.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Clutch Up. Now we know why he's picked his name as he finds the 1v2 in round number 12 for the win and the entrance to the grand finals.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. A couple of things there. That play at the end, round 11, like, I holy smokes, talk about living up to your namesake.
This is fun. I'm having fun, Doug. I'm having a
Oh, how
good
can you not, right? Like, how can you not
right?
with a play like that?
Insane scenes to be sure, but that'll be our first team into the grand finals. Like we mentioned, we're going to be sitting up our other semifinal, just doing both of them for you guys before we get to our conclusion. And of course, if you have not been following along with what's been going on with the Minnesota RØKKR, a lot of really cool interactive content being put up. This one, an interview with all of the RØKKR pro player parents. Take a look to see how that one unfolds before we come back for our second semifinal.
Yeah, I can get quite emotional. This is the first time I've actually been to an event in America and watched him play. Last year I went to London. I mean, the whole thing here is so professional. The production is amazing, but just to hear the crowds chanting and shouting out their names and everything, and the RØKKR chant, it's fantastic.
When he was with the United, they got a pretty good crowd, but nothing like this. Not like everything. This whole place is decked out in RØKKR stuff. And the whole city is going for him. Even places we were out in the city, people recognize him, like, oh, you're silly. It's like, he's like a star.
We were listening to Gary Vee and how hyped he is about all of this, and how we trust his judgment. He knows that this is a happening thing. So to see that and then to come here and be part of it, I have the chills. It was one of the best moments of my life.
Hello, welcome back to the Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit in partnership with Scuff Gaming and Checkmate Gaming. We have got ourselves our second semifinal, and as I quickly glance over my monitor, it is going to be the same 5 maps that are going to be played. So for Triflex and Zuri, we've seen them already. They look very, very good. Clean 3-0 in what was their quarterfinal matchup. They'll be playing up against Bet On It and Michael, 2 players that have a significant amount of winnings on the Checkmate Gaming website. Nearly both of them over 10K in total winnings, an impressive tally to be sure. But here again in this one, it's one of those that you still feel like you're throwing some favor over to Triflex and Zuri based on how they played in that quarterfinal, Doug.
Yeah, but you know what? If Mads and Bet wanted to like buy lunch, I'm okay with that. I have no qualms with that. As we load into Rust again, this is the second semifinals. It is a best of 5. Mads and Bet up against Triflex and Zuri. We saw Triflex and Zuri, and we came to the general consensus that they're the heavy favorites to at least make it to the grand finals, but they're gonna have to get through this squad first. Mads looking to see if he can spot anyone top middle again. That this map is so unique relative to how the other ones are played. Oh, we got crossbows too, baby. Triflex getting first blood onto Mads.
Bet able to find the first, has information on the second, but gets caught trying to finesse with the weapons. Luckily has a stim shot to bring it back to 100 HP each. 5 seconds till the flag opens up on this near left-hand side. And really maybe the first shot will be the difference maker here as Bet goes forward, but it's the heady that's being held and the flag being toggled by here in Zuri. And he's just able to find one more good shot needed for the full wipe.
It's a strong start, though. We'll see if we... No, come on. Keep it out.
Crossbow.
No? There you go. Bet, come on. Somebody walk into his crosshair.
Even not. Just find... Oh.
We await longer, indeed, as our hearts yearn for the first crossbow kill. But what's not waiting, however, is Zuri getting the first blood as Bet falls. Mads the last one standing, and he's in a terrible situation right now as he's getting pinched in from both sides. He decides to push out from one, not able to get the kill, and the pinch comes in from the other side as he goes down. Triflex and Zuri have 2-0 here in this opening map.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused at why the stim shot wasn't used a little bit sooner, or at all, I guess, after the first couple of shots rang out with the pistols. But now we're going to get what looks to be Uzis, and Zuri's going to come out with a pistol early. I was going to say, there's no way he doesn't use the Uzi, right? That will be the case, as he's going to be looking over towards where Mads is currently positioned. A couple of shots ring out, and oh man, that timing of going prone. I don't know if you actually caught the information on Mads crossing over, so... Good control over where the zone of the flag will be for Bet and Mads. Although the shots have only really combined for just 25 damage at the moment. Though Zuri, nice little drop shot as he takes down Bet. And now it's just up to Mads for a 1v2. And he's away from the flag.
Oh, he's going to get tagged up, though. They know where he is. Overtime flag is up. Oh, Mads is able to get one. But it wasn't enough. Triflex and Zuri up 3-0. Some clean shots there, and it was a tough situation for Mads. No matter what, it looked like he was going to make something out of it, but Zuri able to lay in the final shots to put him away.
Oh boy, I feel like this one, even though it is reading as a 3-0, is going to be closer than maybe the scoreboard would suggest. We'll see though. Still a very convincing start for Triflex and Zuri, as Mads is now kind of posturing inside these pipes. Changing up the angle a touch, a couple of bullets ricocheting around him, and now he should have information on where Triflex is, but it doesn't stop Triflex from still finding the opening. Couple of shots, and Zuri able to finesse the alleyway just a touch better. Mads now in a 1v2, 24 HP, nowhere to go, and Triflex and Zuri find themselves up quickly 4-0.
It's not... I think we all knew that Triflex and Zuri were good, but I don't know that I expected this strong of a start, especially from Zuri at 6-0 right now. Triflex, poor guy's just sitting at 2-2, and it's not because he's not trying. It's just Zuri's not leaving him any kills.
So true. But imagine if he wasn't trying. That's kind of the picture that you put in my mind right there.
Zuri's able to get another one. It's 7-0 right now. And Mads just left alone. You see on your mini-map, they just swarm for him. But when you swarm for him and you stagger, you put yourself in a bad situation. You try coming in from the top rope, and it wasn't enough. Mads has spotted Triflex. Triflex is trying to lay down, try to keep himself alive for as long as he can. Pops up, lands the shots, gets the kill, wins the round. 5-0, and they're looking to put the finishing touches on a very impressive opening map.
Confidence from Triflex just comes up, throws 3 bullets out, and immediately backs away. Knows that he's got the kill. 5-0. We're in the semifinals. Told you, Doug, that these guys are nasty. Try not to lie to you as best as I possibly can.
What a guy. What a guy.
It's respect for the stash, in all honesty.
Well, I'll make sure not to shave then, so you don't start lying.
Whoa! First of all, we have to talk about that.
Zuri drops. We haven't been able to say that very much. Now 7-2. Triflex still up, but heavily outnumbered here. He tries playing around bottom moto. He's going to spot Mads, tags him, but he gives his position away. And yeah, the bullets come through almost instantly. Triflex trying to stay alive, and he's not going to stay alive long enough for it to make a difference. Mads and Bet finally get one up on the board. 5-1.
Unbelievable. Rogue will be our shotgun of choice, and that means that we will not see it at all. It'll be Renetti's instead. Renetti's been popping up a lot today, actually. We've gotten more Renetti for the pistol than anything else. Have we even had a Deagle round yet?
No, I don't know that we have. One, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this time the Rogue will get the job done for Bet. Triflex able to find one, but there's a double chow coming through. Mads and Bet able to bounce back, find themselves 2 rounds in a row. At least they kept it from getting too out of hand, but the job in front of them is a very tall one to ask of anybody.
Yeah, but kudos, like, this is how you start, right? You get one, you're able to get another one, and all of a sudden you can make it interesting. But the problem is, if you're Mads and Bet, you've got to be perfect from here on out just to give yourself a chance at round 11. We'll see whether or not that's the case. Bet is able to spot one that's certainly going to help his cause as the struggle for height superiority, goes in favor of Mads and Bet. Zuri's going to spot Mads, try to tag him up, not doing any damage quite yet. And again, he's giving himself away. You see Bet? Yeah, Bet's going to spot him. He's going to land the shots, going to get the kill. And again, we're now 3-5 all of a sudden. This can get out of hand very quickly.
Absolutely it could. But the problem here is now we should be getting... We've already had crossbows. ARs? No? Have we already had ARs? What's next? ARs.
No, ARs, yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
This looks like it's a pretty vanilla AR, too. It doesn't look like there's many attachments, if any at all. Grenade cooked up for Mads. Does get a tag, but Triflex is able to hit him with one of his own. So now a 2v1 Bet by himself. He's stayed mostly incognito thus far, as I don't think anyone really knows where exactly he is. So maybe he gets the jump on one kill here. As you see, Zuri and Triflex just playing from the opposite side of the map. Bet does not expect it, does get away with his life, but has been tagged down just to 35 HP.
Yeah, and at this point, if you're Triflex and Zuri, just play smart. Oh no. Okay. Whew. That would not have been a good situation. Yeah, Triflex and Zuri are able to put it away. It was a difficult situation there for Bet. Like, he didn't have numbers advantage. He knew the flag was coming up, and that was really his only way out. So he had to play it, and when you're down 5-3, you have even less options. So he did what he could there. Just comes up a bit short. Triflex and Zuri picking up right where they left off in the last round with a very impressive win. 6-3 over their opponents.
Looking good so far, and get a very convincing start is the biggest takeaway for me. The 5-0 off the rip, definitely showcasing that Triflex and Zuri. They've seen themselves at this stage of tournaments like this before. They find themselves here again and still find ways to muster up a lot of favor, at least in my mind, when it comes down to how this matchup is looking thus far. But again, like we had talked about in the first matchup of our semifinal, Rust was the only map that was a true blowout in that last one, and it was a 6-3 score. Everything else went round 10 or round 11. So maybe there is some consideration that Rust is a bit of a stranger map for Gunfight. You don't see it nearly as often in the rotation. Obviously, it's not been around nearly as long as the other 4 maps that we could potentially see, including our next map up, which is Stack. You would argue that Rust has been a map for a long time, probably. Is there going to take that? Yeah. Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're not wrong at all.
Either way, you make a very good point. It's just a weird Gunfight map, right? It feels good, right? There's nostalgia, rose-tinted lenses, all that whole thing. But it's a weird Gunfight map. Now we're going into vanilla. Now we're going back into Stack. And as much as I would like to say the map is going to make a notable difference. Triflex and Zuri just look really good. They do. We saw them in the opening rounds, and they were very impressive. And this 5-0 start was no different. So if you're Mads and Bet, you kind of hope maybe you get a good draw on the weapons, something that you just feel really comfortable with regardless of the situation, and that you can rattle off a couple of rounds there, but the last thing you want to do is find yourself down 5-0 again.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like we were talking about in our previous matchup, you have to at least go 1-for-1 on the more strange rounds, right? You cannot allow someone to start running away with pistol rounds and things of that nature. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. The other bit of bad news here for the side of Mads and Bet is that we know that Triflex and Zuri are incredible with using their utility on more open maps. So we figure that should absolutely come into consideration here for our second map when things get started. Again, we are dealing with the city circuit with the Minnesota RØKKR. The finals are yet to still come, as I believe New York still has a city circuit to run, and maybe one more beyond that. But the city circuit finals, $100,000 prize pool for North American residents here, as you have to get through these city circuit against, we'll call them qualifiers or home stands, however you want to list them as. But those finals, a lot of money on the line. So definitely a lot worth continuing to play for all of these guys, even if they don't find themselves in or on top of the grand finals this time around. So if you're looking for more information on that, I believe you can find more on the Call of Duty League website if you have not yet participated in these and you would like to. But as we have stack coming through, I really truly do mean when I say that this one feels like it's very heavily going to be dictated by how much value do Triflex and Zuri get out of their utility.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, this map allows you to play very differently than Rust does. We'll see if that can, maybe prove to be a spark for Mads and Bet, and that might be a difference maker. But utility, I think you hit the nail on the head. Their shift utility, utility, utility. If they can play that well, there's so much information to be gathered. You get health advantages. You can zone maps differently depending on what the utility is and how you play it. So we saw it was Triflex and Zuri in the opening round where we saw that. We saw a Molly that forced the player up the stairs right into the warm, welcoming bosom of somebody's gun. So if they can continue to play that way, it's like it's so hard to counter that. It really is.
When you said gun barreling bosoms, all I could think about was Austin Powers and the Fembots right then. That's literally the only thing I could think about, which this is our moment. We have not had a moment yet where we've had to ask our producer, Mr. J Pistachio, if he knows what we're talking about. Justin, do you have any idea what we're talking about? No clue! No chance he's never seen Austin Powers. A classic film.
This was actually when we talked about Forrest Gump earlier. I got really nervous.
I didn't want to go too far into it. I really didn't.
But either way, we'll keep him at least for the length of the show. Afterwards, we'll decide what the outcome is. But folks, yes, we are loading into map 2. This is the second semifinals. We'll get into the game as soon as we possibly can. We'll be loading into stack. It is a 1-0 series lead for Triflex and Zuri over Mads and Bet. Winner advances to the grand finals. Loser goes home. Probably a little worse for wear, if nothing else.
Indeed the case. We are still waiting on one more player, so we'll send things over to just a quick break while we're waiting for our lobby to get populated. And like you mentioned, we'll be loading into map number 2 right when we come back for this second semi. welcome back. We're jumping straight into map number 2, and I believe we had Uzis off the rip the last time. We're gonna get Uzis and akimbo pistols this time. No stock though on this Uzi here, and apparently we've got white boxes as our secondary. That's what we're actually seeing. As Mads and Bet looking to get aggressive, but Zuri and Triflex, we know how good they are with SMGs. Doug, they're not going to be turned aside, and they've got themselves a 2-on-1 to start things off.
No, certainly not where you want to be if you're Mads in bed, and if you're Triflex and Zuri, well, this is just another day in the office, given how they've competed and performed so far. I will say I got to give credit to Bet here for surviving as long as he has. As you see him slowly try to cheat his way around, it seems like Zuri and Triflex have absolutely no idea where he is. His Bet is rotating around, the clock is ticking, the flag is going to come up, and that's going to leave Bet with one play. But if they don't make a move here soon, he's going to get it. No, he gets sniffed out. Bet goes down. Triflex and Zuri once again take the opening round.
Yeah, and another SMG round tilts in favor of Triflex and Zuri. They're just so good when they have these automatic weapons to play with. See how they kind of handle things here in round number 2. And we've got decoys and semtex, important to note for our equipment, which you don't figure will come much into play as far as decoys go. But double semtexing over the top brings Mads down to 24 HP. Triflex is going to hold a corner. Zuri going to back up and watch the opposite angle. Shots exchange, and now Bet and Mads both down to about a bullet each. And Mads is going to get caught, I imagine, sniffing a little bit further than he should. Maybe gets one kill, but the trade should be here, and there it is, no problem. Triflex, Zuri up 2-0.
Yeah, and you know, again, we talked about utility, right? How well will Triflex, and Co be able to use the utility? And there we saw a good bit of tagging up. We'll see if that continues to be the important thing here. Here we've got a bit of a different look here. Mads is going to start pushing out over on the right side, drop the C4. Nothing doing quite yet. And for as quick as I anticipated this round to go, it's certainly slowed down. Triflex getting shot in the back, trying to get to safety, and it looks like he's going to do so, at least for now. Drops the C4, nothing connecting. Zuri's going to do the same, and well, Zuri is going to pull it off. The final headshot from Triflex is going to do it, and it's a 3-0 here in favor. And you know, we talked about before we loaded into this map, the last thing you want to do is find yourself down 5-0 here, and we're not there quite yet, but this certainly has the same sniffings of it.
But you want to talk about how important the equipment is for Zuri and Triflex. Triflex went up to recollect his C4, so that way he had it again. One tap coming through for the Rogue for Zuri on the Bet. And now you just play this one as a tandem duo. If you're looking at this from Zuri and Triflex's point of view, Mads playing from the opposite side will get some information, but does take a couple of shots, which will make his opponents aware of his position as well. Zuri going to catch a little bit of flack over towards the left-hand side. Here comes the help. Shots ringing through. Mads able to find one. The Chal has to come out, though, and how about that? The 1v2 locked in. Maybe the double Chal wasn't quite there, but the Rogue showcasing how strong it is once you hit center mass with it.
He shot that thing from 2 counties over. It's like a totally different zip code. I don't know. Either way. Certainly a different outcome from what we saw the last time Mads had rotated into Triflex and Zuri spawn and was left in a 1v2. Bet with a pretty slow start here. 0-4 to kick things off. And on the other side, Zuri, have yourself a day. 6-1. Bet drops again. Mads, the last one standing once again in 1v2. It's like death taxes. And this situation, this time it's Triflex and Zuri that are able to get up. 4-1 right now over Mads and Bet.
What a life that would be. Death, taxes, and 1v2s. The only 3 guarantees in life, apparently.
That's brutal.
It's rough, man. But the AKs, as our AR, looking solid thus far for Triflex and Zuri. Mads able to hold his position and spawn and find 1 kill. Zuri looking for a drop shot. Will drop back up to the Chal and find himself his 7th kill. He also saw information. He thought for a second maybe he gets the 1v2, but not the greatest name we've ever seen either. Come out from it, forced to take the challenge, and Bet is there waiting for him.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway there is it's no longer a goose egg. For Bet. It might be a breadstick the rest of the way, but at least he's on the board. Zuri looking to see if he can spot anyone early on with the marksman, and nothing doing quite yet. You see it's a much slower pace of play at this point. Every single round prior, Mads has already been in Triflex and Zuri's spawn, but this time again a much slower pace. It's actually turns. It's actually Triflex and Zuri that are pushing forward, but Mads greets him with a shotgun shell to the jaw. Zuri tries to do the same thing, and it pokes, it hurts. It doesn't feel great, but it's not enough to get the kill.
Sometimes, though, I feel like the 725 deals more damage at range than the Kar 98 does. So we'll see how things come through. And, well, here's the second challenge out in the 1v1. Both shots ring in. Zuri able to close things out. Another nice start here in the middle stages of our second map for the side of Triflex and Zuri. Well, I guess I say the middle stages. We're in the late stages. 5-2 the current tally. And they have not seen a game go to even round 10 yet since we've gotten on board with them. It's all been 6-2s and 6-3s. And as Zuri finds first blood and the second, it looks like we'll continue on that trend.
6-2 and 6-3, like you called it. As we head over to game 3 again, a very dominant performance by Triflex and Zuri's. Mads and Bet just look lost. Bet kept the breadstick. He wasn't able to get anything going after that. Mads had a decent performance, right? At 5-7, nothing to scoff at, but Zuri and Triflex are just too good.
Yeah. I mean, these guys they're insane. They're absolutely nasty. I don't know how many of these they've won or made grand finals, but I know that they're regular participants and they regularly find themselves in the late stages of these tournaments. Obviously very talented. And this is coming up against two guys, like we framed up at the very beginning of all of this, have some significant winnings on the Checkmate Gaming website. So definitely showcasing that they can take down any caliber of opponent once given the opportunity to meet them on the Gunfight battlefield, of which we'll change our battlefield for Gunfight. It'll be Speedball up next. This is one where Zuri and Triflex looked absolutely just too overwhelming on, again, just how open it is, how many line of sights that you can find in team shot fashion. Just kind of all bodes well for what we've seen as far as the style play that we've seen from Zuri and Triflex, and I don't imagine we'll see a game 4. This is looking very convincing for our team of Triflex and Zuri thus far.
Yeah, it looks like it, unfortunately, very well may be a situation of going from bad to worse if you're Mads and Bet. And again, it just seems like they haven't been able to find anything, right? They've tried slow, they've tried aggressive, they've had different looks at different maps, and they still haven't been able to get anything going. So if you're Mads and Bet, what do you do, right? You've seen a handful of guns, you've seen a handful of maps, you've given them a couple looks as well, and nothing works. What do you do?
It's tough, right? I mean, it's hard to sit there and look at what's happened so far and say, this is the one problem we need to fix. It's one of those things that you are in the live moment. Do you even want to change things up at all, or just hope and pray that you get good weapon rounds and you get a couple of good advantages off the breaks? But how many times did we see utility again come into play for Triflex and Zuri? It almost feels like it's almost too safe of a talking point to go to right now, but it's one that's boded true all the way throughout every single time we watch these guys play, whether it's in previous city circuits or so far in the ones that we've seen highlighted here tonight. So we'll see how things kind of unfold for them. But it looks like for me, for Mads and Bet, you just got to do a better job of combining your utility, whether it's double nading something for a potential kill or just trying to search out information and then double challenging something after you throw a stun or a flash out. You got to play for intel because Triflex and Zuri are never coming into a gunfight blind, it feels like.
No, and at that point, yeah, you get the intel that you want, but even with that, you still have to convert it into kills. And I think that's been part of the problem here is I wonder, even if Mads and Bet get a jump on Triflex and Zuri and they know where they are and they've got the setup that they want, when it comes down to raw gun skill, are Triflex and Zuri just that much better? We'll find out here as we're starting to load into the next map. Again, folks, this is game 3. It's a very comfortable 2-0 lead for Triflex and Zuri over Mads and Bet, and we're loading into Speedball. This is the second semifinals of the Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit. Winner goes on to the grand finals to play for all the dough, and loser goes home a little bit sadder, if nothing else.
Just a touch sadder. And it looks like we're going to get FALs off the start here for ARs. So that'll be round 1, 2, and potentially 11 if we need it. ACOG scope on top for the attachment. Zuri, though, first blood. And from here, Bet stunned, killed, end of round. Good grief.
Good grief, Charlie Brown. I know, again, what do you do? It's not the weapons, it's not the maps, it's just hard. It's a tough situation here, and it is not getting any better. Mads is able to trade one back again. Mads was the silver lining. Yeah, that's certainly gonna help his cause. Mads was the silver lining on the last map, right? He was again 5-7, nothing huge, right? He didn't pop off, but he kept it respectable. and he at least got the team the couple of rounds that they did get, the 2 rounds that they won. But it's just going to take a lot more out of Mads. And honestly, if you're Bet, bro, you got to step it up, man. It was a slow start on the last map. It finished slow, and it's a slow start on this map as well. And now you're 0-3. Triflex and Zuri just continue to march on.
Yeah, it's MK2's, but how about this little slide through? I didn't even see him come across on screen the first time around. I thought for sure that Zuri had gotten that kill through the blue cargo or the white cargo container, but a very quick slide through with the model. MK2s are the primary here, though. Nothing as far as attachments are concerned. Stun will come over the top. Mads tries to connect with the nade. Will not get a tag, though. And here comes the model again. Shotgun in the face. And it's just as soon as he found that kill, his teammate finds another one simultaneously. Oh, boy.
Yeah, oh boy, indeed. Well, and look, this might be a different look. Hey, pistols and your fists. That's well, maybe not. I tried real hard, bro.
I'm just gonna be candid. I'm gonna break the third wall here with you guys. It is hard to commentate this. It really truly is. It's just so dominating from Zuri and Triflex right now. It's absolutely unbelievable.
And Bet already shooting off the spawn. I don't know if giving his position away. I'm not sure. It's tough to say. Zuri almost landed that. I'm pretty sure he would have broken the internet. I might have gotten up and walked away.
That prediction was nearly perfect. Triflex holding the angle. Gets information. Challenge comes out. He's midair though. Oh boy.
Look, when you're feeling yourself, you're just feeling yourself, right? And you do stuff like that, and you've got a little extra confidence, and you feel as if though you're not going to lose a single gunfight, right? We've all been there. We know what that's like. But the problem is it's both Triflex and Zuri here who are feeling that way and who are playing that way.
Goodness. Well, pistols and rogues. Mad's able to find one, but he's brought down to 50 HP. Stun will not connect. He still has a subtext to play with, trying to hold the head. He gets some information over the top, and the subtext not good. He would have loved one of those. Zuri's going to try to flush him out from behind cover, and that'll do it. 6-1 the score. Triflex and Zuri. I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't think anyone's going to touch him. And the other semifinal that we had took 5 maps, 12 rounds to decide, and we have not even seen anybody take even close to a map away from Zuri and Triflex thus far.
Oh, and it looked like Bet didn't even stick around to look at the post-game stats. I don't know that there would have been
Not much
a ton
to
to
see.
look at there. Yeah, but he got out of there as quickly as he could. Again, a pretty dominant performance. And you're right, it's hard to kind of break some of that down and analyze that, but we can take away this. Triflex and Zuri are good. They're really good. They're scary.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, the way that they just absolutely dismantled Mads and Bet. And it's not like Mads and Bet are guys that are just schmucks that came off the side of the road. They made it this far in the tournament. They took down a lot of teams on the way here. So I don't want to take that away from them. I think that's more of a testament to just how good Triflex and Zuri really are.
Yeah, I'm 100% right there with you. Looking like the potential favorites, but it's the grand finals that'll be coming up next. And well, we've had some comedic moments here, but the RØKKR boys have had their own comedic moments playing through Warzone, as I'm sure most of us had. So as we throw things to break, we'll check in to see exactly how some of those Warzone moments have occurred for the Minnesota RØKKR. We've got our grand finals coming up right after this.
So we get lit up. Oh, one's out.
Me? Wait, will this kill me?
I gotta catch. I can catch you. It will kill you, but I can catch you. Did not catch you. I just shot this guy out of the sky.
Out of the way
this guy's sitting in there and all I have is a pistol.
Oh man.
Wish me luck.
Dude, good luck, man.
They're open 12 AM to 12 AM? How does that work? Wait, that means they're open 24/7.
Ryan, please play.
That's what they all say.
Ryan, play.
Oh my god.
Wait, Justin stream clip it. Justin stream clip it. Grab it. Can I get a little closer?
Super weak.
And I'm also a sniper.
Are they down low? Are they down low?
They're like on this rock
Yeah, I
over
guess
here.
so. Rock.
On the mark.
Nated it.
Try to go around the side.
Yeah,
for
I
a
hit him, I
sec.
hit him,
Have
I
they
hit
ever
him.
been hit by a truck before?
No, I don't think
Hey,
so.
Molotov over here. Got one.
Hitch! You're against Hitch!
Shut up.
You are! You're against Hitch! Oh, no!
Pavel, call out.
I'm looking really. Ready? I got 3 info. Go. I have 2 armors right now.
On me. Looting. I got turned on by an RP. No, I'm clipping this.
What?
Oh, I almost just fell to my death. Wait, where are we?
One guy, jump.
Wait, can I land on you guys? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Right behind you, you have a team of 2 shooting. Alright, look, I'm gonna land on them, okay?
Being shot with RPG. I got shot in my back. I got punched.
Ah, that's unfortunate, my man. That's unfortunate.
Yo, where's this scrim, yo?
I don't know. You booked it.
Nah. Brian did.
What the?
Nah, he said. I said you got this one.
Yo, someone give me an explanation. I need an explanation. I need it.
Hello, welcome back. We're getting into the grand finals here for Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit. Everything's been going on with the Call of Duty League across all of the different individual home cities, and now we've got just 2 teams left, and well, it's going to feel more like we just got 1 team left because Triflex and Zuri have rolled through the competition thus far. The big question that stands is, can Mr. Clutch Up and Whips find a way to battle up against these guys? I'm my whole shift. That's esports, Doug. And well, Doug, I'll tell you right now, it's been one of those things that we've seen nothing but domination from Triflex and Zuri. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips had a very tough time even getting to this point as their semifinal went all the way to game 5, technically around 12 as there was a draw.
Yeah, and when you think about how both of these teams got here, it's hard not to pull for Triflex and Zuri, right? And it's hard to kind of vote against them here. That said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. We'll see if it works. Maybe the matchups were just harder for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, right? Like maybe the team that they played was significantly better than the 2 teams we saw Triflex and Zuri up against. And I did bet on the side of Mr. Clutch Up and Whips once, and I was rewarded for my faith. We'll see if that turns out to be the case here. But no, I think all of that aside, we've seen so much out of Triflex and Zuri, so many different looks, superiority in so many different facets of the game that it's really difficult to bet against them here.
Yeah, I haven't had a hard time making that argument without doubt. I mean, they have looked so good across every single map, every single weapon combination. And for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, like we had mentioned, their semifinal was anything but a blowout, as it took, like we mentioned, not just 5 maps, but went the distance in that map 5, and maps 2 through 5 all went past round 10. So a very tight affair. And yeah, maybe there is some consideration that maybe they were in the harder side of the bracket. Maybe that semifinal was more representative of where our top 3 teams exist compared to maybe our top 4. But it's hard to fully make that dictation considering how good Triflex and Zuri have not just looked this weekend, but when they've played in gunfight tournaments in the past as well. So we're loading on in, like you mentioned. We're going to get pretty normal maps for our first couple, starting things off on Stack. I'm interested to see again what our weapons are going to be able to kind of see rotationally, and if this team of Clutch Up and Whips can find a way to not just find a good battle on SMGs and AR rounds, but be able to take pistols, shotguns, and marksman rounds away. Fists are apparently our secondary here, and we'll have pistols, double akimbo. Renettis will be our first and second rounds for us.
Aggressive Zuri and Co are playing that, and they got punished for it. They just tried running at Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, and it didn't end well. A couple of real nice shots there out of Mr. Clutch Up to get the 2-piece really to put it away. And maybe they just kind of came out looking to see how much they can push around Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, and well, they were met with an unwelcome start.
Now all of a sudden, maybe baiting out some information or waiting for nades to come through. Triflex will grab a stun. Molotov will go left. Looks like Triflex wants to go right, but he's just going to hold the position. Sees one slide through. Does finish the kill, but the trade was instantly there. Zuri will follow up. That was going to be a very tense moment if Triflex doesn't find that opening kill. Would have put Zuri in a really tough position, but we'll go 1 for 1 on the double pistol round.
Yeah, we saw an adjustment there out of Triflex and Zuri. We saw a very aggressive start on the first round, and on the second round, it was much more timid. It was much more calculated. So already seeing Triflex and Zuri adjust on the fly, and that's what, in my opinion, makes the squad so scary. Whips it 0-2, make that 0-3 as Triflex gets 1, does a couple of little extra bullets just for good measure. And you see Mr. Clutch Up is up in top middle. It's going to be a 1v1 here. Triflex down to 50 health. Mr. Clutch Up has even less, but at 4-1, kind of easy to give him the nod. Both players looking to play back a little bit. Mr. Clutch Up is... Oh, he didn't see him. He walked into his screen and he didn't see him, and he's going to get cleaned up for him. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips put another one up to take a lead 2-1.
This has been great rounds so far for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. Again, a little bit of favor. The akimbo pistols, let's be honest, is kind of a coin flip just based on who gets the peak first. But now you've got MP5s as your secondary in marksman rounds, and Zuri. The initial portion of that gunfight didn't look all that great, but is able to drop shot down to find a favorable second half. So now it's just down to Mr. Clutch Up. He's got a fresh mag to play with as he's trying to make his way around the back. He might get an opportunity here onto Zuri, able to snap on him. Did he see the player up top, though? I don't believe so, and there's the instant trade from behind. 2-2 we go.
No. Mr. Clutch Up had an opportunity to do it. And, well, he didn't. Triflex getting the kills again, like you said, knotting things up here in the opening map of this grand finals. Mr. Clutch Up. Look and see if he can spot anyone across middle. He's got a C4 in his back pocket. We'll see if he uses that. Zuri, however, greets him with bullets right in the face. He's going to clean him up. Triflex gets it as well. And as much as things change, they stay the same. Triflex and Zuri take another round.
Yeah, big monolithic suppressor looks like on this Odin with a pretty advanced optic, and it's just so strange to see for Triflex and Zuri. They're just not holding off at all. Doesn't matter what weapons they had. They want to get aggressive, as this time Whips will play passive from his spawn and get rewarded with the kill into Triflex. Zuri looking for information over the top of this heady. And just as he gives it away, Whips was about to peek him from the top side of the platform from the spawn, but 20 seconds left to go here. A little bit of information gathered off the stun. Only Claymores as the lethal, so he's going to have to get the job done here, you figure, with the Odin.
Oh, it's such a tense moment. They know where he is. Zuri knows, yep, he's able to get one. That's the person that he tagged up with his utility. So he gets the info, he gets the kill, and then he gets the heck out of dodge. But he gets out with 52 health. Whips has the health advantage. It looks like Zuri is looking for the pick. He's not going for the flag. He's going to spot him, not able to land the shots. Unfortunately, Mr. Clutch Up and Whips knotted up 3-3. Shift, this is not, this is certainly closer than I expected.
Yeah, it's been a really resilient play so far. And that's our AR round, technically. Again, even though the Odin doesn't necessarily feel like an assault rifle. We're going to get our marksman with a bipod, sniper, scope, EBR. Zuri finds first blood by way of headshot onto Whips. He sidesteps a nade. Mr. Clutch Up now in a bunch of trouble, as he doesn't have a secondary to play with. He just has his fists, so it's going to have to be down to what he gets drummed here with either the Semtex or the EBR. Does have a stim shot, so it will potentially give him a little bit of extra life if he does get tagged up in an initial gunfight. Long range shot doesn't connect. He's going to realize both players are close. Semtex goes out, but it's a touch too late. It's not going to connect with anything. And Zuri and Triflex are in great spots to make sure as soon as the flag is touched, they can get a double peek onto it. He sees an elbow and a backpack, takes a shot, it doesn't connect, and yeah, there's the end of that round.
Interesting approach to how he played it, but that said, even if he plays that flawlessly, that's still a really difficult situation, knowing that he didn't have the health advantage, knowing that he was outnumbered. It was just a tough spot. We'll see if they can change their favor here. Zuri dropping down, looking to see if he can get anything cheeky. He did spot Whip, spotted his dome, didn't put a bullet into it. And now he's going to start to push forward a little bit here as we see both teams starting to move forward and try to get some top middle control. Triflex still back in his spawn though. Yeah, he has spotted, who is that, Mr. Clutch Up, but not able to connect on anything quite yet. Zuri's still holding that same angle, and the map has come to a halt. I think this is the first time we see it go this long with that kill, and of course, mid-sentence, first blood goes down, and it gets traded back. It was going to be a 1v1. Mr. Clutch Up and Whips with the shots getting the round.
And these are rounds that you feel like you need to be winning if you're Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, because there's not a lot of utility in the board. You've got Semtex, sure, but that is just stim shots. So those are rounds that you stay a little bit more incognito, a little bit more covert, if you will, just kind of avoiding information into you. Shots with the Renettis are out. Dead even pretty much on the trades, but the Semtex will turn the tides over to the Origin. Not going to get a kill, 1v1. And just before there was going to be much interest, Mr. Clutch Up and Whips are able to turn things around. Mr. Clutch Up with both kills in the round. They put themselves up for the first time, and it comes at a great time. This is a 5-4 scoreline.
And the thing is, we've seen Mr. Clutch Up and Whips in situations like this. We've seen them in close games. We've seen it go the distance and then technically pass the distance. We haven't seen Triflex and Zuri in situations like this very often, so I can't help but ask myself, will they respond the same way? Having not had this experience, could it be, tense? It certainly is a great way to start. Mr. Clutch Up gets taken out. Whips, poor guy at 2 and 8, is the last one standing here. And the nice thing is, yeah, you have an extra round to play with. You don't need to force anything. You can try to play this a little bit more methodically, but when you're outnumbered the way that you are, when you don't have the health advantage either, it's just going to be a bit too much. Triflex and Zuri, we're pushing it to the 11th round on the opening map.
It's one of those things that you mentioned it, and I'm glad that you did. For Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, it has been the Mr. Clutch Up show. He's 10 and 6. And you wonder if he doesn't find that many kills, if this has even gone the distance this far. But again, we go back to what our initial loadouts, which were these dual Renettis. And both teams played extremely aggressively with them the first time around. Not the case this time here in this pivotal round 11. As Mr. Clutchup has been dropped to 71 HP, a health pool advantage for Triflex and Zuri, where they can play for just the flag, but coming around the back is Whips. The trade isn't there. It's Darrow. He's going to go for the beatdown. Does get the win. Needs the reload, though. 39 HP. Mr. Clutchup's giving up his angle. Molotov if he wants it, and Zuri's going to push his aggression forward. He's only got a couple of shots left and clutches it. No way is he allowed to make that play happen. No chance he gets this clutch. Unbelievable. I can't. No chance.
Talk about being rewarded for aggression, right? Like in a situation where you don't have the health advantage, you probably shouldn't be pushing the pace. Giving it the finger and going after it the way that they did was just incredible. Whips had a very slow game at 3 and 10. And yeah, he had 7 assists. He had 676 damage to boot, but just not getting the frags that he needed. And what a freaking ending to this opening map. This is nuts.
I'm actually mind blown that he's allowed to get that far forward. Unbelievable that he's able to get that space. It shouldn't happen, as the way I'm trying to say this politely. There's no way that should have happened. That should not have been allowed to occur. But Triflex and Zuri, man, I'm telling you, these guys don't know the meaning of lose. They just don't do it all that often. But a heartbreaker for Mr. Clutchup especially, but also Whips is, man, that's tough scenes for sure. But we have to digress. We have to move on. It's a best of 5, all said and things considered. So as we have our next map coming forward, it will be Speedball. And while we have not made this easy wordplay yet, but Triflex and Zuri absolutely put the word speed in Speedball as they play extremely loose and quick on this map. So we'll see if Mr. Clutchup and Whips can find a way to respond to what will surely be more of that same aggression we just saw in the round 11.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions that I had in the middle of the first map was how would Triflex and Zuri respond in a tight situation? They didn't change anything. It didn't matter if it went down to the wire. It didn't matter if it was round 11. They still continued to play their game at the pace at which they like to play it. And when you've got that level of confidence in a style, that's really hard to shake. If they weren't shaken there, I wonder if Mr. Clutchup and Whips just gave them their best shot and it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's so hard to see that occur and think that there's going to be a regain. Man, tough. Big oofs, absolutely. But regardless, we have to move on from that. So we'll see what we get. It's tough as well when your pistol round is the first one up and it's a Kimbo Renetti's. It's just so 50-50 in nature when you get those. Yeah, obviously, if you center better, you technically have a higher chance of hitting shots, but it's all hip fire pistols. At questionable ranges. It really does feel like whoever hits the RNG gets the win, but it's just the way that the game unfolds. This is what we have. It's a gunfight, man. It's a wild world out there. So we'll see exactly what happens as we move forward to Speedball, like we mentioned. Don't know what our status is on our lobby at the moment, but we're just waiting for it to start by what I imagine. So it's one of those things that you had Odins for ARs, you had Akimbos for pistols. It's just sometimes it really does feel like it comes down to the weapon rotation, as that time around it wasn't even split 1-for-1 in the regular rounds of those, but the round 11 just turns up slightly in favor of Triflex and Zuri.
Yeah, that was a messy weapon pool. It was weird, and you touched on some of what was in there. So maybe there's something gets a little bit more vanilla here as we start to load into the second map. Maybe it's something a little bit more vanilla. Maybe the map somehow has a change on things. And again, it's not like they played poorly. Mr. Clutchup and Whips, they got to round 11. They certainly went toe-to-toe for a little bit there, but you just wonder, with a play like that being the deciding factor on a map, how deflating is that really? Because when you get in your head like that in a grand finals on stream for the dough, like, that stuff can get to your head.
And you're also seeing just a difference in inherent confidence for both teams. And how about this? Car 98's to start. Triflex able to take down Mr. Clutchup as he tries to go from right to left. Whips trying to move forward with the pistols. He will find one kill relatively cleanly, tries to snap onto the second, knows that Triflex is nearby, but doesn't realize how close he's nearby. And the Car 98 shot will eventually punish, giving Triflex and Zuri the first round.
And this doesn't bode well, but there was some life there, right? Like Whip's able to get that kill in his spawn the way that he did. Mr. Clutchup is able to trade that, however, and that's certainly a positive light. And that's going to bring us down to a 1v1. Mr. Clutchup up against Triflex. The health bars are, for all intents and purposes, knotted up. Just 2 points of a difference there, and that's exactly what they needed. Mr. Clutchup and Whips able to tie it up 1-1 with some nice shots from the Car 98 out of Mr. Clutchup.
And the pistol getting the job done. And I was wondering if we were going to see more akimbo pistols. The answer is yes. So we'll see how they try to play this one. It's going to be a double hit for Mr. Clutchup and Whips to try to make their way through the cargo side. Stuns coming forward. Whips just barely able to hold on to Triflex in that 1v1. But a nade that comes out from Zuri will find the instant trade, essentially. So a 1v1 and a 2 health point differential between our players in favor of Zuri at the moment. But again, you do not want to be on this side of the map, though. The flag spawns up. The hipfire from the pistol is not going to be good enough for him to take a dub, you feel. And as he gets tagged up by a nade, he'll also be slightly concussed. Shots from the backside this time. The gunfight not going to turn out in his favor as Mr. Clutchup and Whip's able to take away the first pistol round.
Yeah, that was super close, and I think we would have had a very similar reaction had he somehow pulled that off. But again, much needed, very important for Mr. Clutchup and Whips there. We'll see if it, with, again, the second round of the Akimbos, if it proves to be any different. But Mr. Clutchup getting tagged up really right off the spawn as Triflex has spotted another. He's going to drop it right at his feet. He's going to tag him up a little bit, and the bullets are going to finish off the kill. Triflex getting the best of Whips, and that's going to leave Mr. Clutchup by himself. He's going to spot Zuri across the map, try to deal a bit of damage, but again, when you're talking about Akimbos at that distance with the hip fire, it's just you're flipping coins, really, and that's going to prove to be exactly what Triflex needed to knot it up 2-2.
We'll get away from the pistols, and we'll go right back to the Odins, this time a much more minimalistic kit on it. It looks like there's just a foregrip attached. And a double hit coming through for Triflex and Zuri over towards the obstacle course. Clutchup able to find one. Does get stunned. Zuri looking for a jump peek. Also receives some stun up of his own. Molotov just behind him. Zuri's going to be tagged up a little bit by it. And he's been completely zoned to just essentially hold this back heady. And he's going to be completely pinned up. Realizes he's being double chowed. And there's really nowhere for him to go. Mr. Clutchup and Whips still maintain a small lead 3-2.
Okay, this is good. My concern was how they would respond given that round 11 finish, and Mr. Clutchup and Whips don't seem to be phased at all by the outcome. Both playing, really well. A 4-2 out of Mr. Clutchup and a 3-4 out of Whips, just a little negative. And Whips, is going to get another opportunity here very shortly to add to the stat line, but no, he gets cleaned up. Zuri's able to get one. Whips traded it back out, and Whips is going to drop. Triflex and Zuri tied up 3-3.
It's one of those things that, again, the first 1v1 turns up in favor of Triflex and Zuri, and that instantly leads to, after the trade comes through, information on where that last player is, giving another advantage to the 1v1. This time MP7s, a couple of shots being exchanged as Whips just got melted, and, well, Mr. Clutchup also similarly so quick to follow as he also gets completely obliterated. Both for those gunfights from Zuri. Extremely clean, and now for Zuri and Triflex, they retake the lead 4-3.
Necessary. I think if you're Mr. Clutchup and Whips, it almost feels like every round is a must-win. If for nothing else, for the mental aspect of it, Zuri's going to drop first, a very important kill, but Mr. Clutchup certainly worse for wear. He's got 9 health left. It's a 1v2 technically. But again, if you look at Mr. Clutchup funny, he's going to go down. Triflex, looking to play the back of the map, rotating slowly to see if he can spot anyone. Nothing doing quite yet. Mr. Clutchup and Whips playing this very slowly. Triflex is going to spot one. Yep, that's certainly going to help. Again, he had 9 health, but tries getting the second one. Gets up top, gets taken right back down. It's tied up 4-4.
I'll tell you, though, if he wins that gunfight.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be something? Model 680 and pistols coming in here for what is our shotgun round for number 9 and number 10. We will need both of those rounds, and it does feel like a potential to the round 11 in the making. Triflex, nice little stun molly combo, does a little bit of damage. The pistol shots are good. He takes down Whips. And just as soon as he does, his teammate cleans up Mr. Clutch Up. And now map point here for our squad in blue. Currently already up 1-0. It did take round 11 the last time, and it feels like this one surely you feel like needs to go to the round 11.
Yeah, I think so. Again, given how both these teams have played it almost seems inevitable. But it is interesting. When Triflex and Zuri win around, they do so very decisively, which I think is just what kind of continues to tip me in their favor as far as predictions go. Whips, drops, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. When they win around, it's like lightning and thunder back to back, and they're able to get the kills to win the round, and that's exactly what we just saw. Another win for Triflex and Zuri, and that puts them up 2-0 in this Grand Finals best of 5, one map away from being crowned your Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit champions.
Another little small analytical thing just to kind of keep in mind when we talk about how well the equipment usage is when it turns up in favor of Zuri and Triflex like that. You kind of see instances like right there at the very end. You throw out one stun early, you're able to catch Whips with it, you get a free kill. And then, like you mentioned, as soon as they get that first kill in pistol shotgun rounds, they push forward, but they're still always holding on to that second piece of utility to toss over to make sure that they're able to convincingly win that second 1v1. It's just really, really good usage of, in that instance, the tacticals, but they've done similar things with their lethal equipment as well. It's just been really clean, really polished. There's definitely a mindset as far as, okay, when we're on pistol rounds or shotgun rounds, this is how we're going to use our utility to make sure we have an advantage. When we're on ARs or SMGs, this is how we're going to use it to try to give ourselves a health pool advantage. It's just all about how they're using their utility. And it really is, you really could put a masterclass clinic on it as far as what they've been doing so far. But just a little small instance to kind of showcase what we mean when we say those things. Just really, really good usage and control of not only their utility, but also the space on the map and how they're able to use that utility to gain more presence across the map. So 2-0 the current count, 6-5, 6-4 the first two scores. But going into map number 3, we will be getting Bazaar, which is where I believe they definitely looked like there was some vulnerabilities the last time around. I think that was the second map where they only won 6-3 in their quarterfinal or semifinal, whichever it was. But regardless, this is a map that I feel like, again, does limit the ability to get total usage out of that same kind of utility play style. But we've talked about it a lot where it comes down to high ground being very important, and there's no shortage of those long lines of sight either to help gain a little bit of visual information rather than just utility forms of information.
And as closed off as the map might seem to be, it seems like there's just enough as far as avenues, of mobility that allow them to play the way that they like to play. They're swarming with the numbers and having each other's back. So
yeah,
it again, on the surface, it kind of seems like that wouldn't necessarily favor them. But again, they have just enough, in my opinion, in the way the map is built to allow them to continue to play that play style. It looks like we're going to start off with ARs here with what look like it's in pretty hefty scope and pistols in their back pockets.
Sure seems that way. It's going to be the Odin again. Big monolithic suppressor. This is the same loadout we saw from our first map. And Triflex, I thought for sure was going to win that gunfight as he had the angle held first. Doesn't make a difference. Clutch Up, able to get away with his life, get back to safety, and Whips was waiting right there to help him out from behind. Beautiful play as Zuri was really trying to red dot chase to get that first trade. It doesn't happen this time out, so it will be the first round to our team in purple.
See how Triflex and Zuri respond here. Triflex being a little bit more aggressive. He's going to get info there, but he opts to ignore the info and push top middle instead, and Whips is able to take him right back down. Going to leave it into 1v2. Zuri, the last one standing here. And again, looking to see if he spots anyone. Didn't realize Mr. Clutch Up is just around the wall. He's going to push forward. Yep, he's going to spot one. Tries to tag him up. Deals a good bit of damage there. Drops him down to 21, but it's not going to be enough for the kill. But he comes
Oh my god!
Are you kidding me? He's going to tie it up 1-1. These guys are bonkers.
This is impressive on so many levels. I don't even know where to start. Unbelievable play from Zuri. Now Triflex gaining a little bit of inspiration and morale off that play will move aggressively with the pistols for one. Mr. Clutch Up, he will find a response. Goes to the shotgun. Almost able to lock things down, but the centering just a touch too far off to the right. And Zuri will not be clutched up on here as he also has a couple of impressive shots quickly to respond. But my goodness.
Unreal. These guys are on a totally different level. Up 2-1 right now. 2-0 lead in the series. Triflex is going to spot one. Oh, the bank on the nade? Nah, it didn't look like it was going to be in. I thought for just a moment he had the right angle. It just wasn't cooked long enough. He's going to get punched in the jaw and taken out. That's going to leave things in a 1v1. Zuri up against Whips. Health advantage, excuse me, in favor of Zuri. He's playing back in his spawn, and Whips is pretty far back as well. Yeah, but Whips is going to spawn. Oh my gosh! How? Oh,
I can't, Doug. I can't. I'm passing out. Please get some crossbow kills. Please get some crossbow kills. Triflex. Okay, he's seen better shots.
Wow.
Zuri over to the pistol. He's going to actually get a read on both players up top here. Sebtex will not connect. Thought for a second it was lined up for a potential stick. Triflex in a 1v2. Full HP to play with. He's 1-4, though. Would have to find an incredible play here, and he's just going to be ran at with pistols. And Mr. Clutch Up and Whips, all excitement aside, still only down 1 round.
Yeah, you know, he probably would have won that had he had the crossbow out. Just, you know, a caster's analytical opinion there. Maybe with the crossbow he would have won it, but doesn't use it and loses around 100% of the time. We'll see how things go here. Again, Triflex at 1-5, certainly not where you want to be when you've got Mr. Clutch Up and Whips up against the ropes. But do you really need to be much better when you've got your teammate doing stuff like that?
What happened right there to Whips?
Yeah,
wait a sec. I thought the first kill he had was on the player that charged down the stairs based on the X-ray. What happened?
These
Lost
are,
on so many levels.
I think we call these tough scenes. Tough scenes.
Ah, indeed, yes.
Tough scenes. Triflex looking to, again, boost his stats a bit. They're both actually very weak. Whips has died, but Mr. Clutch Up still has full health in this 1v2 here. Probably a bullet apiece takes care of both of them. Mr. Clutch Up looking to see if he spots anyone playing back towards the spawn. Looking for any sort of intel. And Triflex mate, yeah, Triflex spotted him there. Mr. Clutch Up is going to have to back up, at least for the time being. The clock is ticking. And even though he's outnumbered, he still has the health advantage. There are the bullets to take care of Triflex. Going to leave it in a 1v1 Zuri and Mr. Clutch Up. He can play this much more passively now because he has the health advantage, although it's much more slim than it was just a moment ago.
Bro, Doug,
they're just running at him. It was just an ego challenge, and he's not getting punished for it. When you can move like that.
This kid's different, man. He's just different.
These guys are cracked, ego challenging every single corner they get, and it's working.
Oh, man. Clutch Up will find one. Raid boss down. Triflex left alone. Does get some information off the stun. Grenade not cooked at all. There's the Chell. Jump peeking through Mr. Clutch Up and Whip. Staying alive, but it doesn't really feel like there's going to be enough in the tank to get past Zuri unless they can continue to first blood him like this, because at the moment, Zuri is just taking over this entire map.
And it doesn't seem like he's slowing down.
No.
At all. See if we can get the producer to hop on board here with Zuri. Thank you so much. He still has his knives. Whips is able to get first blood, though. Zuri, again, the man of the hour, looking for another one, and no highlight play there, at least this time.
And now you're starting to ask the question as we're impeding on a potential round 10, round 11 situation. Does Zuri have to clutch up and find both kills in a round? Because we've seen very little noise from Triflex on this map. 1-8. Hoping for some desperate knives to connect. Not going to happen. And his teammates dropped down to 17 HP. So now is the time where Triflex absolutely needs to start to find some damage dealt. If not potentially another kill to help even this one up a little bit, because health pool wise, they're in a bit of trouble.
Whip spotted him. Clutch Up is able to get first blood, which has been the key to success the last couple of rounds here for Mr. Clutch Up and Whips. Triflex again at 2-8. Last one alive. Yep. Oh. Okay. Okay.
It's unreal, man. It's
Yeah.
unreal.
No, I think that perfectly encapsulates what we've seen on the last 3 maps. Just filth. Just pure filth out of Triflex and Zuri. That's just dumb.
1066 damage for Whips coming up in the L, but the 9 and 5 for Zuri. Triflex with the final 2. Man, it did feel like a situation where all you have to do is kill Zuri, but then Triflex says not so fast. You got to remember that I'm also part of this duo, and for good reason. So your Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit champions in a 3-0 grand finals, 3-0 semifinals, 3-0 quarterfinals are Triflex and Zuri, looking like a major competitor, not just obviously here in this instance, but potentially for that City Circuit finals, which is all North American based, where $100,000 in total is put up for the prize pool distributed between the top 8. If you're Triflex and Zuri, you got to be feeling pretty good about where you currently stand as you look forward to that.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good stroke of the ego, if you will, with how they just pulled
For
that
sure,
off.
man.
Easy win. Those guys, they balled out.
Absolutely nuts. And it's funny because that was the closest series we've seen with those guys, and it was still a sweep, man. It's just how do you even I don't even know how to break that down besides just sheer and raw just passion and just skill, just insane. I don't even know, man. I just want to give them all my gas in the world. Absolutely insane players. But that's going to conclude things here for us, Doug. It's been another day of gunfight for you and me, and it definitely felt like a lot of fun again. At least I had a good time. And for these guys that we got to see play, I think we learned a lot about who could potentially be at the top as we get closer and closer to that City Circuit finals, not just for Triflex and Zuri, but we saw a good exhibition put on by a number of these duos.
Yeah, but I think we just dropped this in the production chat. I think we found the right team to represent
True.
Minnesota here in this next tournament. But no, folks, thank you again so much. This has been a blast. This is going to wrap it up for us. Your Minnesota RØKKR City Circuit champions, Triflex and Zuri, in really like an obscene performance through the bracket. This has been a lot of fun. Folks, we love you guys. This is Esports Doug and I Hold Shift signing out. Until next time, have a good night.